You damn right. Hope everybody's having a good Friday. It's a Friday that has a little bit of nerves in it. But like a great person once said, the nerves just mean something exciting is going to happen. So if you're a Longhorn fan or a Houston fan or a fan of any team still in the bracket, little extra something to it. It's Chad and Zay on this Friday. One of us has those nerves going on today. The other one is wearing an A&M shirt just because, and his team got knocked out by Penn State. I'm Chad Hastings, joined as always by Isaiah Collier. What's up, Zay?
Let's go, baby. Let's go. Nervous as hell, but this is what you want. You want to be here.
Give me
opportunity. That's all you could ask for.
Uh-huh.
And Texas has a huge one tonight.
Give me a 1 to 10 nerve level right now.
At 10, highest nerves you could have. I just want to be clear.
10 plus?
Yeah.
I'm
at 8.5.
Yeah, I need you and other Longhorn fans to explain to me how this one feels, because I think in my lifetime I've seen A&M play like 2 Sweet 16 games, maybe 2 or 3. I'd have to go count, see how many it is. But they've obviously not been to the Final Four during my life. I do not remember a round of 8. I do remember a couple times I actually got to enjoy what you guys are enjoying right now, that week of separation, preparing for another round and all that. I think I've actually gotten to experience that, but it's rare. So Longhorn fans have not had it since 2008, but now they get it back. And we'll see if they can handle Xavier tonight. We're going to get into the right call segment here in just a second and get Zay to give you a full breakdown. But we can have Longhorn fans let us know today. Specs text line 337-3776. How are your nerves knowing that you've got to go all the way to 9 o'clock before tip? I mean, everybody's going to have to get some coffee going, Zay. Be staying up tonight. This game's going until 11:30 tonight, for sure.
Yeah, that last one last night with Gonzaga and UCLA, it was a late one.
Yeah.
And your boy had to wake up for B&E this morning with Bucky Gobble and Ty Henderson, which was fun, by the way. That's always fun. I love that show. That show means so much to me. And Bucky Gobble, he was on one today.
Bucky was in a mood?
Oh, he was definitely in the mood.
Okay.
Yeah, he said some stuff. In the 4 hours of the show, Chad, he disrespected his sisters by basically calling them husky.
Damn.
He talked about his gag reflex, which
weird.
Yeah, it's kind of odd. He needs to keep that with him and his wife.
All right.
And yeah, that was basically the gist of it. There was a lot more to it, but
sounds like a lot of people are going to be going back to that podcast.
HornFM.com. He had to apologize to his younger sisters. So,
oh my God,
I'm sure he's not invited back to that part of Pennsylvania anytime soon.
Hey, as long as we're mentioning that, let me give a shout out to 794 people. That's how many subscribers we have on the YouTube page. Let's get it up to 800 during the show today. How about that? YouTube.com/@the horn So you don't miss anything. Go subscribe to the YouTube page. You'll be able to check out crazy moments when Bucky goes off the rails a little bit, full shows that you missed, different segments that are separated, different podcasts that are up there, the golf tour of Central Texas. If you missed any of that, you can go back to all those golf courses, including the latest one on Austin Country Club. All of that is there on the YouTube page. Let's get it to 800 subscribers during the show today. How about that? Let's get it done. All right, so there's a lot to get to. We will get to last night's action where a Big 12 team did survive and advance. We will talk about tonight where a team from H-Town will try to live up to a 1 seed and advance. But you know what the big focus is for us around here. We are the Horn. We will bring you the game tonight with Texas and Xavier. Remember, 8:30 pregame time, about 9 on the tip. That means Texas baseball and Texas Tech go over to 1260 and 1019. So for you baseball freaks, that's where you'll hear the beginning of that all-important conference series. But right now, we're going to do what we've been doing throughout the season. It is the Right Call segment with Zay breaking down Texas and Xavier. Let's do the sweet version, Zay.
I hope, like I said last week, this is not the last time we do the Right Call segment. I hope we're doing this at the exact same time next Friday because the Horns have won 2 straight games to get them to H-Town for the Final Four. But the Right Call segment has been brought to you by Syntex Tickets. Go to syntextickets.com for your concert, theater, stand-up, and sports tickets. Hey, Shelby, get them to me quick. Go to syntextickets.com. Oh, here we are, finally. It's been the longest week. From that game ending with Penn State to now, it has been the longest week. And that's good. Hopefully these guys have been able to get off their feet. And when you have such a mature team like this squad with so many, 5-year seniors and so many veterans, the maturity, you don't have to worry about those type of things like getting ready for this game. This team, they're going to be ready. They know what's at stake, from Coach Terry still not having the job to what happened with their previous coach, now Ole Miss's head coach. They kind of want to show everybody, hey, yeah, he was a big part, but we could be good without him. We can win without him. And now what you're seeing at this point of the season, playing against Xavier tonight with this squad, is a complete team. And that's what we've had question marks on all year long, because we've seen the ups and we've seen the downs. The downs getting killed on the boards, being too guard-oriented, not being able to get the bigs involved like they should, or the bigs not showing up like they should, lack of movement on offense at times, going on these droughts. And ever since that Kansas game where they beat Kansas at the Mood, something changed, because it was looking bad. Losing to Baylor and losing to TCU back-to-back, that wasn't good. And when they beat Kansas and made them look how they did, Bill Self was there. He was at that game, made them look how they did. And then moving on to the Big 12 tournament, the confidence has skyrocketed. And now they're a complete team. They're rebounding better, especially the guards. Tyrese Hunter, he's been big on the boards defensively to help those bigs, because Texas is undersized. They don't have one player over 7 foot. Jack Nungy, big man for Xavier, he's a 7-footer. Texas doesn't have that guy. Dylan DeSue, all these post moves and stuff, he's doing that at 6'9", 6'10". Christian Bishop, undersized big, 6'7". So Brock 6'7", Dylan Mitchell around 6'7". So everybody has to rebound. The guards aren't big. Serge Jabari Rice has long arms and all, but nobody's really over 6'4" for the 4 guards. Ontario Morris, Marcus Carr, Tyrese Hunter, Serge Jabari Rice. None of them are over 6'4". If they are, they're about 6'4". So you have to rebound by committee. And there are times this season, those 3 losses that they had, Texas Tech, TCU, Baylor, they got killed on the board. So this coaching staff, they've done a really good job of making that a point of emphasis, to where I'm not worried about that anymore, because I know those guys are going to crash the boards, because they know how important it is to do that. And we've seen that consistently for these last 5 games, or these last 6 games, going back to Kansas when they played them at the Mood. So you got to do that tonight. You have to do that tonight. Also, now you're not relying on the guards as much, because you know what Dylan DeSue could bring to the table. You know what Brock Cunningham and Christian Bishop, what they're capable of. And when the offense gets a little stagnant, you could go to that 2-man game with Dylan DeSue, Marcus Carr. That's been money. That's been money when, the motion's not really flowing like you want it to, and you go 1 for 13 from the field like they did against Penn State, which you can't do that tonight at all.
1 for 13 from 3.
From 3. Excuse me. Thank you. From 3, like you get against
I wouldn't
Penn
go
State.
1 for 13 from the floor
Yeah,
either.
that doesn't even make sense.
Either way, wouldn't try it.
That means there's a lot of turnovers happening. We're turning the ball over at an extreme rate.
Would not try that.
Yeah, absolutely not.
Yeah.
But 1 for 13 from the 3, that can't happen. So when that did happen, what did they do? They went to Dylan DeSue. They went to a 2-man game. They got it down low. They let him work out one-on-one. And I have confidence in Dylan DeSue going at Jack Nungy tonight. I really do. From the perimeter, we know he can step out and shoot the 3 a little bit. And if Jack Nungy bites on that pump fake, which we've seen, he's going to be able to get to the rim and do some things, which if Dylan DeSue hits his first 3 tonight, kind of like what you saw last night with Drew Timme, he hit a 3 early in the game, and it completely changed the game. Because now those UCLA bigs, which aren't that good with the guys they were missing, now they're like, oh, we got to respect that. And they come up, and Drew Timmy's like licking his fingers like after a well-balanced meal. And, going back to Texas, Dylan DeSue, he could have that same advantage. Now, on the other side, I know Jack Nungy is a 40% free throw shooter. If he hits 2, let him. You'll be okay with that.
Yeah, 40% from three-point, and he's taken right around 100 of them this year.
Yeah, you'll be okay with that. You'll live. When he hits 3, then we'll start pressuring it out a little bit. But he doesn't want to shoot that. He only takes around 2.7 a game. He doesn't really want to shoot the 3. And like I said yesterday, he was taking more 3s when they had their other big man who's out for the season with that foot injury.
Mm-hmm.
Now they don't have him, so he has to be more down low because they're playing more of a 4-guard lineup, even though Jerome Hunter could do multiple things, take you inside and out at 6'8", which makes them versatile also. So it's there's so many ways the Horns could beat you, which is exciting, but you cannot go 1 for 13 from the 3-point line like they did against Penn State. And I don't expect them to. We've been talking about it all week, them being in Kansas City, them being familiar with the atmosphere, with the rims, the depth perception when it comes to shooting. They know all their spots. The court's just going to look a little different. It's going to say Sweet 16, Elite 8 in the center instead of the Big 12. You get over that, then you'll be fine. But like I was saying when we first started the segment, with how veteran savvy they are and how confident they are. Like, I was a little nervous about all the attention they're getting. A lot of people are still picking them to win these next 2 games and get to the Final Four. You see CBS following them around. I saw CBS, Brock Cunningham, he taking them to, Lady Bird Lake and stuff, talking about, things that he likes to do around. And I'm like, there's a lot of attention, but these are grown-ass men, and they can handle it. And
you're Texas.
And you're Texas. You should expect it.
It's kind of part of it.
This is why you came here. You want this attention.
Sure.
You should enjoy it. You should embrace it. And this team does. We've talked about this season at times when they've looked their best. They could get a little cocky. They could get a little arrogant. We need some of that tonight. Because, again, this Xavier team, they could play fast, and they could run you out the gym really quick. They're not that good defensively. They're around 250-something in defensive efficiency, but offensively, they're like top 5. So Colby Jones, he'll be a late first-round pick, maybe early second round. I think he's going to be a player in the NBA for the next 10 years. 3-and-D guy, Swiss Army knife guy. He's not going to be a star in the league, but he's going to be a plug guy that'll be able to hit 3s for you. He's a good defender. He's tough. He can rebound. And he means a lot to this Coach Miller offense. Coach Miller
Sean
team.
Miller, yeah.
Sean Miller team. And, Soleil Boom, he's really good too. But he'll have his moments. Against Marquette in the Big East Championship, 1 point. 1 point.
Wow.
Against Shaka Smart's team.
Okay.
Now,
and that's what Texas has been doing to people.
They have.
Take that best player out.
Yeah, they did a really good job on Jalen Pickett, which I think Timmy Allen's going to be on Kobe Jones tonight because he's around 6'6", and, that's a great match for Timmy Allen, which his defense, I think, is underrated. We don't talk about it enough because we talk about their team defense, and I think that, it gets lost in what we saw last year and how good they were with Chris Beard, and now they're not as good defensively as a whole, but they're still a really good defensive team, just not what they were a year ago, 2022. But Timmy Allen being able to check Keontae Johnson, Jalen Wilson, guys like that, Jalen Pickett, he's not afraid of the moment. So Kobe Jones, as good as he can be and is, that's a great matchup for Texas's favor. Hopefully Tyrese Hunter is on Soleil Boom.
That's what I was about to ask. Okay.
Hopefully we get that matchup. That's picking them up 94 feet. Once Texas scores, you're right there, Tyrese Hunter. Zigzag drill. Making them move, making them turn, making them start that shot clock late. If they start their offense, they barely getting up the court around 21, 22. You like that. You can't let Adam Kunkel get going. He lit Pittsburgh up. He lit their ass up. 5 threes in the first half. That was ball game there.
He's a 41% guy from beyond the arc.
He's a really good shooter, the Beaumont transfer. He's such a good shooter.
6'4".
Yeah. And it gets it off quick. He doesn't need much space. He gets it off quick. not a good defender. Go at him. They're going to try to hide him and put him on Tyrese Hunter, especially when they put Sir'Jabari Rice in the game. Munch me. Go at him. And we know Tyrese Hunter, he's capable. He's capable of giving you buckets. He had 27 or 28 against Kansas State, which Kansas State last night, yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah,
we'll get to them. We'll get to them.
Yeah.
I'm glad you mentioned Hunter, though. Also a guy that if he can get an early three, we've seen that change games for him.
Yep. And where does he like that shot? Corner, wing.
Yep.
Get him on that corner wing area. And he shot the ball well this later part of the season. So I'm confident in him getting his jumper back. We know Marcus Carr is going to stay aggressive. It's going to be interesting who they put on him. Because Sule Boom, he's not the best defender. Adam Kunkel, he's not the best defender. Desmond Claude, the freshman off the bench at 6'5", he's pretty good. He's pretty good. He had a really good game against Pitt the other day, and he doesn't play like a freshman. So Sean Miller, he's not going to play 9 or 10 guys. He only played 7 the other night. And with all this rest that they've gotten from their last game to now, I expect him, with how these refs are calling no calls, they're not going to be in foul trouble. Now, if somebody does get into foul trouble, we'll see. And we kind of saw that last night with Davis in Arkansas. He got into foul trouble early, and that hurt Arkansas for the rest of the game. So hopefully the refs stay consistent and let the guys play. And if they do, I think that favors Texas.
Texas and Xavier tonight. We told you the Specs text line is open, 337-3776. Let us know about your excitement level, nerve level, or whatever if you're a Longhorn fan. This text says, Zay, stop hyping me up about Longhorn basketball! Exclamation points all the way. I'm driving, and I just realized I'm driving 90 miles an hour on the freeway listening to you. I am so excited! 3 exclamation points.
Yeah, if you get pulled over, just let them know. I'm listening to that Zay Collier. They'll understand.
They will totally understand that. That's right. Also, this text simply says, Marcus Carr, no dumb turnovers.
Yeah, man, that Colgate game where he was just throwing it to him. Like, he had 5 really bad turnovers, and he'll be better tonight. Just, you can't have any unforced turnovers. This team is too good offensively, and yeah, that just can't happen. Now, the freshmen, they haven't done much in these 2 games. Arterio Morris had a really good Big 12 tournament. Dylan Mitchell, he's been better, but what can you really say when you're only getting 10 in 9 minutes? That's not much at all. So this first 4 minutes of the game is huge. When you got Timmy Allen and Dylan Mitchell in at the same time, the offense, we've seen it get very stagnant with those 2, just because, hey, you can help off them, and they're no threat of a 3-point shot. So is Sean Miller gonna, obviously they know that at Xavier, and they're gonna try to exploit that whenever Marcus Carr and Dylan Dessou have the ball. They're gonna maybe bring 2 over. And we'll see early if they trust Jack Nungy playing straight up with Dylan Dessou. Because if he goes out the game, if Dessou gets him into foul trouble, and he's crafty, like, he will get you with that. He'll hit a couple of those floaters, push shots, and he'll hit a jumper, and then he'll get you with a pump fake and blow right by you like he did old boy at the Penn State game. And with just the confidence Dylan Dessou's playing, and I expect him to carry that confidence into Kansas City. And again, with how bad they are defensively, they don't want to guard. They just want to run, and they want to get the ball off the hoop and just hoop and play. But they've beaten some really good teams this year, like UConn, who we saw beat Arkansas. So they're a very scary team.
Yeah.
And they're in the Big East, which we talked about yesterday. The Big East is really good, having Creighton, UConn, and then Xavier all advance to the Sweet 16. They've surprised a lot of people, and the team that got sent out, Marquette, won the whole thing. So they're a lot better than what people thought, and Xavier, they're not going to be scared of Texas.
By the way, Zay, before we hit this break, in reference to that text of the guy saying he was going 90 miles an hour, we also got a text from one of our longtime listeners. Our man Jason from APD says, we are listening to and we understand.
See, there we go.
Now, I don't know how much I would test that, But Jason from APD lets us know they understand too. They got a lot of Longhorn fans in that group, and there's a lot of excitement today as we get ready for Texas and Xavier. We'll keep breaking that matchup down. Also up next, we got to go back to last night where K-State, Gonzaga, UConn, and FAU all advance. Houston is up tonight before the Longhorns get out there. Will the Cougars advance? Got an update on those 2 injured players for you. That is coming up. Plus, in the crab bag, I will tell you about a situation where I think there might be 3 GOATs, not just one. That's all coming up today. It is an energetic Friday. We'll try to contain it all. Get in on the Specs text line, 337-3776. Oh, and by the way, before the end of the segment, we're at 807 subscribers on the YouTube page.
What?
That's what I'm talking about. Thank you for getting us over 800. Now let's head towards 900. YouTube.com/@thehornaustin. We appreciate you. Stay safe out there and stay with us. Keep it here. Don't move. Texas Xavier tonight right here on the Horn. This is Chad talking Underdog Fantasy. Easiest place to play fantasy sports, and I'm going to have to take a look at a pick'em game tonight. Your brackets are busted. We probably know that. Some of your brackets may be all right, but either way, you can still get in on some action at Underdog Fantasy with the pick'em game. Click on the pick'em tab on the Underdog Fantasy website or app like I just did. We were just talking about Sule Boom from Xavier. How about 5 rebounds, higher or lower, or 16.5 points, higher or lower? You think the Longhorns are going to hold him down to under that number? You can go with that. Now let's get to the Longhorn players. Nunji's on there. For Texas, how about Jabari Rice? 13.5 points, higher or lower. Rebounds, 3.5, higher or lower. It's that kind of stuff. That's what you do. You pick whether your players will have the higher or lower stat total in the upcoming tournament matchups. Pick between 2 and 5 players to build the pick'em entry. Get all the picks right, and you win up to 20. You can win up to 20 times your money in a single game. It is a lot of fun to have that going on during the game. So get it downloaded on your phone or go to underdogfantasy.com and get it done that way. Sign up today with the promo code HORN and get your first deposit doubled up to $100. Visit underdogfantasy.com or find them in the App Store. Don't forget to register with my promo code HORN to get your first deposit doubled up to $100. Must be 18 or over and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-522-4700 or visit www.ncpgambling.org. It's the fastest growing fantasy app in the industry. Get some pick'em games going tonight for the Sweet 16 with Underdog Fantasy.
Chad and Zay.
This is an easy song if you don't know the name. They get it right to you immediately. This is Mississippi Queen, and it's one I always mess up. Oh, my God. Mississippi Queen is it Mountain?
There we go.
There we go. Come on now. Off to a good start. Mountain gets us started. That's a great name for a band. I wonder what that thought process was like. There had to be drugs. I'm getting drugs, some kind of, maybe you're just hammered. All right, quick, man. We got to come up with a band name. We got to send it to the management right now. What do you see? Just say what you see. Car, truck, mountain. Mountain, that's it. We'll stop. Mountain. We'll go with mountain.
I'll take that.
Sure.
I mean, maybe they were so high felt like they were in the mountains.
They probably were. Dude, what are you talking about? You live in the desert.
Yeah.
There's no mountain there. What are you talking about? You're right by the coast. There was no mountain.
How much you want them back and throw it over these mountains?
Yeah, I can throw it right over there. Mountain gets us started today. We hope you are having a great Friday. There's a lot of good text coming in on the Specs text line. This says, I'm so hyped. It's been 15 freaking years. Oh, my God. A Texas fan getting ready for the Sweet 16.
It's been a hot minute.
It has been a little while. This says, I've been listening since E. Hogan was an intern.
Damn.
Love you guys. Says, I may be drunk off that orange drink. I just dipped. Dipped from work. Sorry. I just dipped from work. I thought they were getting really specific. I just put a dip in. No. I just dipped from work in St. Louis. Got in my car. I'm heading to KC to watch my horns. I may literally explode.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Thank you for listening. Thank you for supporting us, even in St. Louis. And definitely best of luck to the Longhorns tonight against Xavier. Someone texted, how dare you, Chad? No drugs were used by these guys. No, never any drugs in the musical world. That does not happen. All right, a lot of stuff going on this weekend as the weather starts to clear up around here. Earlier today, there was some rain around the area, but it looks like the weather's going to be great, which is good for everybody. Good for ACC and the golf, the match play. Zay, did you happen to see what Rory did to finish his round yesterday?
I did.
Wow.
What a shot.
Almost, I'd say he didn't almost hole it, but the 18th hole is a par 4. He hit it 349 yards. Got 349 on the carry. It hit the green. It rolled to within like 3.5 feet on a par 4.
Ooh.
Incredible stuff. So best of luck to everybody out there with match play. Over at COTA, they're getting ready for the NASCAR events throughout the weekend. And if you want to check out our guys, go to hornfm.com. Rodney Rodriguez and Bobby Chaffee, of course, with Revved Up ATX. They are out there. Horn roving reporter Stu Myrick, Super Bowl Stu, Suplex Stu, and in this case, Super Speedway Stu, or maybe it's just Speedway Stu when you're out at COTA. They're out there checking it all out. And if you want to go check out some interviews that Rodney was able to get and the guys were able to get with AJ Allmendinger, Ty Dillon, Kyle Larson. Those are posted right now at hornfm.com. Revved Up at 11 on Saturday, and then we're going to do a special edition at noon on Sunday. We may need to adjust that special Revved Up time on Sunday because, Zay, there might be a Texas basketball game to deal with on Sunday. That's if they handle their business tonight.
Let's go.
So stay flexible. We'll try to stay flexible too. And it's a lot of excitement going on around here. So again, Texas Xavier tonight, about 9 o'clock on the tip time. But there's some other fan bases that are interested in basketball. Let's get into last night, Zay. And why don't we just start in the Big 12 with Kansas State. Holy mackerel. Kansas State and Michigan State gave us everything we were hoping for. 98-93. Is that the one that went overtime?
Yeah. Yeah.
That went overtime, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was the overtime game. I don't remember another one in this tournament. Were there other overtime games?
I don't think so.
Maybe. I thought there may have been one or two. I couldn't remember another one, but that was serious levels of excitement. Marquise Noel, a guy we have watched throughout the season. Zay, we've been following their path, and it's been a weird one. They had what we felt like was they had a sort of a peak in the regular season. Then they kind of went away for a while, and nobody talked about them as much. And, man, they've started punching in this tournament. 20 points and 19 assists for Noel last night. What'd you make of the Wildcats?
Amazing. I mean, the last game they lost in the Big 12 tournament, they lost by 13 points to TCU, and Marquise Noel, he did not have the best game. He only had 11 points, 5 assists, and I think he had around 7 turnovers. So they locked him up. But the difference, Chad, in that game and in these March Madness games, in the Big 12, that game was the third time they played TCU that year.
Yeah.
So the scouting that Jamie Dixon had on Jerome Tang's squad is way different. As good as Tom Izzo is, which his record is a little different, like we talked about yesterday with all that time off, than it is 2 days.
Yeah, the toughest one with him is the 2-day. This is what we said yesterday.
Oh, this is where he thrives?
This is no.
He struggles.
He does a little. I don't know about struggles,
okay,
but the record's not as good on the long run. He's really good if he's got to do the quick back-to-back.
Right.
So Tang had the opportunity here to get him, and he did. The long prep, they were able to get Michigan State.
Yeah, and I think that's the best thing for him. Kind of like this Texas team just being happy to be out the Big 12, because now you already face some of the best competition in the nation, but other teams haven't seen you before, so prepping for you is different. There's one way to prep, and then getting on the court and execute that. And when you play against a guy a couple of times, you get a feel of the way he plays. When you see a guy the first time, like Michigan State did with Marquise Noel, he's 5'7". So if you're Michigan State, you shouldn't be helping on anybody. You should let your man stay with him, or at least try to, because he's small. So even if he blows by you, you have a good chance of blocking that shot, on coming back and blocking the shot, which they did last night a couple of times for Michigan State. They had a couple of blocks on them during the second half, which led into overtime. But if he starts hitting threes, it makes you play up on him, and then he goes by you. But if you haven't seen him before, then your natural reaction, which is to do with every guard when they blow by somebody, is to help the guard. You have to help the helper. So if a guy gets to the rim, there should be somebody there to stop him. And since he's so small, you shouldn't worry about that, but they did. And he was dropping dimes. They were cutting at the right time. Yeah. Carter and Keontae Johnson and Tomlin, they all cut at the right time.
Their timing's incredible.
It's insane.
It really is.
And these alley-oop plays that they'd run, and Marquise Noel's vision, like we talked about yesterday, him going back to New York might have been the worst thing that could have happened to Michigan State.
Yeah, you could feel it. God, you could feel that building, how much he was enjoying it.
Chad, he had rappers Cameron and Mace. You remember Mace? Ba, 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 ba. We'll play some Mace later and some Cam. Mace on good. Yeah, Mace. He was there.
Feel so good.
Both of those guys.
Feel so good.
Right. Yeah, both of those guys were pretty good basketball players in their day, but they're from Harlem. They went to the game just to see this dude and have his back. So for a New York guy like himself, pressure. That's not pressure. That's a show.
He's good. Hey, real quick.
We're right by the Apollo. It's time to put on a show for y'all.
Let me ask you, speaking of a show, let me ask you this one particular play. That shot they got of Noel looking over to Jerome Tang, and it looked like they were arguing, and then he throws the alley-oop for the – was that a work? Was that like a Patrick Mahomes moment where they deked the defense?
It might have been. I think it was.
Because if it was, that is so effing brilliant. I've never seen that in basketball in my life. That's what I thought, though, when I saw the replay. Like, that might have been planned.
Well, A.J. Hogarth, that's horrible defense, for one. Because it looked like A.J. Hogarth, who was in the passing lane, which, as a defender, you got to see your man. You have to see man and ball. And he was on the wing, playing really high in the passing lane, while Keontae Johnson was in the corner. So he's deeper than you. That's a no-no. That can't happen.
So it's easy for him to sneak behind him.
It's very easy. You're basically asking him to.
Yeah.
And it also looked like when Marquise Noel was waving off Jerome Tang, you're like, no, coach, I got this. F you, coach. The hell with you. I'm doing what you see, I got almost 30 right now, 15-something assists. F you, lob.
See, that's what I'm saying. Was that all a work?
It felt like
it. Felt like they Patrick Mahomes'd him.
Yo, and it looked like my man A.J. Hogarth was paying attention to that. It was like, what? Is he really getting into it with his coach of 1 minute left?
And all of a sudden,
minute.
All of a sudden, that ball's over his head.
Behind your head. behind your head.
With the double.
Yeah, with the reverse. That's just
double,
stupid. In clutch time, that's just stupid.
Dude, that was incredible.
And then the play of the game was Marquise Noel's steal at the end.
Yes. For all that he'd done, 20 and 19 assists, by the way, that's an all-time record. Forever and ever, the whole tournament, that's the most assists anyone's ever had in a game. So congrats to Noel for that. But then you're right. You talk about the cherry on the sundae, the period on the sentence. Now I'm going to pick your pocket and you don't even get a shot?
Yeah.
That's incredible.
NBA scouts need to take a chance on. He might not get drafted because he's old as hell. Marquise Noel, he's been in college for a while. He might look like a little baby.
He's
but
35.
Yeah, John Calipari said he might look like a little kid, but he old as hell. Out here, Gary Coleman and these boys. But, the NBA needs to take a look because Ty Henderson made a good point this morning on B&E. He said J.J. Barea had a really good career at that height. And J.J. Barea wasn't the passer like that. Now, in the NBA, it's clearly a different game. You're playing way more superior athletes, but the game's different. You get way more space. So Marquise Noel, he could be pretty good in the league just because they already can't guard him in college. There ain't no space in college, and he's blowing by guys there and creating. It's just about his defense. And I see guys like Jose Alvarado for the Pelicans. He got way more talent than him, but Jose Alvarado's a little bit bigger. So Marquise Noel, even if he doesn't go to the association, he made himself a ton of money in this tournament. Probably be able to play in Europe for a decade or so, not have to worry about rent, taxes, or food or nothing, get his own chef and his own, whip and stuff like that, and come back to the States in the summer and stuff and live like a king, like a lot of guys do.
Somebody texted, who does K-State play? They play FAU next, who took out Tennessee. We'll get into some of the other games from last night. FAU beat Tennessee. UConn just busted Arkansas up, and Gonzaga and UCLA played the game. Everybody
put that shirt on, Muss.
And did he take it off? I didn't even see.
But
he kept it on.
Nah, he probably feels dumb for taking it off.
Okay, just making sure we didn't have a weird, we got beat that bad, I'm just going to take off all my clothes. And I'm assuming this shirt would stay on last night.
I didn't know Bill Murray was a UConn fan.
Is that where he's hanging out now?
Yeah, because he's been in the stands. He was there last week, whoever they played and beat to get to this next game, and he was there last night. He was telling Dan Hurley, UConn coach, take your shirt off, take your shirt off.
He had a nephew or something a couple years ago that was, it was Julia Louis-Dreyfus had the connection at Northwestern.
I remember that.
Bill had something else. I didn't think it was UConn a couple years ago. I'm not sure. I haven't heard exactly why. I did see Bill checking out a game, but I haven't heard what the connection is. Also, before we hit the break, Zay, just a real quick prediction. What's your gut on Houston right now? You picking them to win? Do you think Miami wins?
What was that injury report? You said you had an injury report. I need to hear that.
What I heard was Jamal Shed said he feels like he's back to 100%, and Sasser says he feels like he's at about 90.
I'll take U of H by 5.
Take Houston. Okay.
I'll take Houston. Yeah,
that to me was good news.
Miami scares me.
If you're a Cougar fan,
I like Pack and Wong. Those brothers could hoop, and they got some dudes that be flying around, and they're not scared of the moment. They were here last year getting to the Elite Eight and stuff, so they ain't afraid of the moment at all.
We'll talk a lot more hoops, obviously, today. Texas getting ready for Xavier. We also have some NFL notes for you coming up at 1:05. Up next in the crap bag, sometimes there's not one GOAT. In this case, I think there might be 3. This story still freaks me out. We'll hit it next on The Horn. All right, this is Chad. Let's talk Twin Peaks. Somebody just texted us a while ago. How in the world am I supposed to focus all day long? This game's tipping off late. Look, just do what you need to do. then get on over to Twin Peaks, and there's an extra way you can get ready for the game tonight. How about bourbon and brews? That's right. The pairing is always great. They are all about the pursuit of brews and barrel-aged bourbon every Friday over there at the Bourbon and Brews Party. So here's what you get. 5 to 7, get on in there so you'll be well before tip. Get yourself a good seat. Experience that lingerie costume party paired with the exceptional bourbons, tastings, and giveaways. Get on over to your favorite lodge location and get ready for Sweet 16 action tonight. Now, the first game does tip at 5:30, so if you want to go ahead and get over, that's perfect timing. You start Bourbon and Brews at 5. 5:30 is first tip time. Get on over there. Tell them that we said hello. Twin Peaks, eats, drinks, scenic views, Stastny, San Marcos, and Round Rock, TwinPeaksRestaurant.com.
Chad and Zay.
Well, now you're really going to make them drive 90. I mean, come on. How do you not get going with this one? Huh? Come on, Rob. Uh-huh. Oh, good grief.
Yo, hopefully this is a lot of Horn fans tonight because it's going to be late as hell when that game ends.
That's right. Living after midnight. Whoo! There you go. Definitely loaded. Judas Priest and Living After Midnight. My favorite heavy metal band of all time. Priest and Mountain getting us started today. That is good stuff. Usually it's late in the set when you get the Living After Midnight. Still just, still gets me on that. Good stuff. If you're driving right now and you were listening to Zay get you pumped up and now you're listening to Judas Priest, please be careful. Because even though Jason from APD says they understand if you're speeding, he didn't specifically say they wouldn't pull you over. He just said they'd understand. That's different than saying you're going to get out of the ticket. So please be careful on this Friday. A lot of good texts coming in. Thank you for those of you that put the pieces together. I was right that it wasn't UConn for Bill Murray a few years ago, but now it makes sense why it would be another school, and now it's UConn. It's his son who's an assistant coach. I didn't realize that.
Yeah,
So
just realized that too.
his son is an assistant. He was at Xavier, ironically, Texas opponent tonight. If you remember him wearing the X hat a couple years ago because he was on that staff. But now he's at UConn with Hurley. Which Hurley's at UConn? I know it's not Bobby, but what's the kid's name?
Dan
Hurley. That's
Dan
it.
Hurley.
That Hurley family can coach.
Yeah,
and play.
they're pretty good basketball minds over there.
Coach, play, yeah, they get it all. So
Dad's a legendary our high school coach in the New Jersey area.
yeah, the dad can outcoach any of them. And then, so now he's on that staff. So that's why Bill Murray is hanging out with UConn, in case you missed it.
Yeah, salute to Dan, because I know that was tough. Growing up, your big brother, Bobby Jr.,
Oof.
just Duke legend.
Had to be
that was
tough.
tough.
Did Dan play
I'm sure he did.
somewhere?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sure he played somewhere.
And also,
and Bobby.
Also to our man Nate, who texted in, "Blue Chew makes me taller than Noel." There's no reason. There's no reason to discuss it. Although, if you listen to the afternoon show and listen to the station, you may have learned that Mike Harge does have a new product that he would like to let you know about.
Yeah, if I'm Tom Izzo, I'm cussing out John Calipari because what he said about Marquise Noel, that kind of pissed him off, don't you?
Yeah, why fire him up?
Why? Calling him little kid? Like any small person, like with little man syndrome,
Yeah, don't
lose
do that.
it.
Don't do that.
They'll lose it.
Yes, I don't do that. It did get him fired up. Marquise Noel is now the all-time assists leader in an individual tournament game. Incredible stuff with 19 assists last night.
Yeah, they put a stat up on ESPN earlier, Chad, and it had Jason Kidd, your favorite coach, TJ Ford, happy birthday,
Yeah.
and then Marquise Noel.
Wow. Like an assist total.
Like points and assists in the tournament,
right.
like 3 games, and Marquise Noel's numbers are better than both of those guys.
Yeah, it's crazy. We'd already talked about his first 2 games because they really showed up and he was getting love, and Kenny Smith is calling him the new Mighty Might, and that was happening the first 2 games. And then he goes for 19 assists last night. So just the legend keeps growing with Marquise Noel.
Yeah.
Impressive stuff. Kansas State will face FAU in the next round for a trip to the Final Four, and it's UConn and Gonzaga. It's good stuff on the basketball side. We'll keep talking about those games, get back into that at 105. Real quick, let's get you a crap bag segment here. I'm still trying to figure this whole thing out. I think we may have found the perfect couple and 3 goats. Here we go.
Chad's crap bag.
Crap bag. If you need an easy way to remember it, just think of a bag of crap.
Brought to you by AV Consultations, 255-8678, or go to avconsultations.com. We talked briefly about this story yesterday, but I want to make sure everybody understands what happened this week because there's a lot going on. Gisele Bündchen, the legend herself, did an interview with Vanity Fair, and a lot of people thought, oh my God, here it comes.
Time to spill the tea.
Here comes every bit of tea will be spilled. All the shade shall be thrown. She's going to just drag Tom from one side to the other. Here we go. And then it didn't happen. Gisele Bündchen, clearing up the rumors about what had gone on, says that the decision was arrived at amicably with gratitude for the time we spent together. She denied the very hurtful rumors that the on-again, off-again retirement from football was the root of that dissolution. She said, listen, I've always cheered for him. I would continue forever. If there's one person I want to be the happiest in the world, it's him. Believe me, I want him to achieve and to conquer. In this article, she says that there is no truth to any of the silly rumors about her being with the trainer. There's no truth to a rumor that she's dating some friend of his that's in real estate or
we didn't even know about that.
Hadn't even heard the rumor, and she said, no. I know that guy, but no, I would not be with one of his friends. Because let's really break this down, Zay. Gisele Bündchen is not just any wife. We have been over this many, many times, and sports talk radios hit it a lot. Tom made less money than her throughout the whole run. She was the most famous model on earth at one point. Maybe still is. Do we really think Gisele Bündchen doesn't know how to interact with men in her life and not have relationships? She's probably pretty good at it by now, right?
Yeah, I think so.
And she's saying that for her, there's a code. There's a code. There's a list of men. There's a group of men that she's just not allowed to be with. And I love that. Because I like that code. I live by that code. If something happened with me and my wife goes off to live her life and I go off to live my life, there's a list of people I'm not allowed to date. There just is. That's a code. There's a list of people she's not allowed to date and even think about.
Yeah, obviously, Scottie Pippen, Michael Jordan, and that family didn't talk about this.
They did not talk about it. Right. So I love that for Gisele. But I am also now thinking that we may have three goats in one story. They're already calling Tom the goat for multiple reasons. If he is taking the high road and not ripping on Gisele, and then Gisele's going to take the high road and not rip on Tom, we have not heard about any provable stories of anybody cheating on anybody. Now they're divorced, so they can date whoever they want. And Zay, the little added ingredient is Moynihan to me. Because I'm reading in this article that Gisele says she will now be working with Tom and Gisele to do what's best for these kids, to raise these kids like they need to. They have all these houses all over the world. They're going to use them strategically. And she says the Miami house is important to her because it gets her to Brazil when she needs to do that, but it also puts her in contact with Moynihan, who she has a great relationship with. This thing is blowing my mind.
Yeah, that's goat stuff, Tom.
This is three goats. Well done, Tom Brady. Well done. Because apparently you picked the two most perfect women on earth that can now actually get along, and you're raising these, what is it, 3 kids total or 4?
I don't know.
It's 3, I think. I think it's
a girl and a couple boys.
The oldest boy is Moynihan's, and then I think there's 2 others or 3. I can't remember the full number. It's either 3 or 4. But God love all of you. Well done, Tom. Well done, Gisele. Well done to Bridget Moynihan. They are all goats in my book. They are all obviously staggeringly pretty and staggeringly famous. But let's find out. We'll find out if this is real or not, Zay, because there are people whose job it is to be 500 yards away with a high-powered camera to figure out what's going on. TMZ exists. We'll find out.
Yeah, I mean, you can't deny the photos where she's riding horses with old boy. That looked a little romantic. Just saying. It looked a little romantic. It wasn't nothing. She wasn't touched up on them. It looked a little romantic.
Now, if he's the trainer, it just could be horse training, right? We could just be training, just horseback riding. Could be the little cardio.
True. Where the kids at, though? That's what I'm saying. We're talking about the kid. Where the kids at?
That's a fair question.
Kids gone. It's just you two. It looks a little bit romantic.
Dude, can you imagine trying to maintain? I am all for platonic relationships, by the way. I'm a big fan of them. I have them in my life. I have had them throughout my life. Can you imagine trying to maintain a platonic relationship with Gisele Bündchen? Oh, my God. That's so impressive if you can pull that off. Yeah, no. Gisele and I are friends. You're friends? Whew. And that's the curse of the pretty people, Zay. That's their curse. Because it's hard to be friends with. It's easy to be friends with average-looking people. It's easy to be friends with ugly people. It's the true hotties that are just impossible. That has to be an impossibility if you're at that level of good-looking. World class, like 10 plus good looking. And we're just going to be buddies? Ooh, that's got to be tough. But you know what you get if you can pull it off? You get to hang out with Giselle and Tom, and now just Giselle, and then she invites some friends over,
So-
and you get to date one of them.
See, that's going against the code. Don't be doing that, Tom. Now for Bridget, she was with Tom when he had the butt chin. So she's real, she's real loyal to the situation.
Yeah, she was with like Combine Day Tom,
Yeah.
right? A little more weight on him and stuff.
Yeah. So she was with him when he was ugly. So I give her an extra pass. Giselle, she got with Tom when he was right, and she got him right too.
She did help.
But
She couldn't have hurt.
But you know how many fellas out there are having to pay child support because that baby mama is salty about the current baby mama that they with? Tom ain't got them problems.
No, apparently
At
not.
all.
Apparently not. And by the way, Moynihan is aging so well. Have you seen her lately?
I have not.
It's scary. My wife watches that Blue Blood show she's in with Tom Selleck. There's another guy. Tom Selleck's going to be handsome the day he dies. That dude is still really handsome. He's got to be in his 70s by now. Still looks like Tom Selleck. He's incredible. Incredible. Somebody says, I don't get the Giselle supermodel praise. Might be me, but she is not. She's just not a 10. Okay.
Everybody has their type.
All right. What is she if she's not a 10? You wouldn't say she's a 5, would you? If she's a 5, I need to see your scale. I need to see what's a 10. No, I get, okay. Yeah, hey, everybody's got their own version, right? Your own favorite model or whatever. Giselle is, she is something. And I'm impressed. I want to think that even the famous people can do it the right way and not drag everything through the tabloids. And if you really care about the kids, then care about the kids. And apparently these three are actually going to try to do it. So bravo. I'm interested in seeing it. Oh, and also bravo to Tom Brady. He's going to be minority owner of the Las Vegas Aces.
Yeah, I saw that.
Who just won. That's where Becky Hammon's coaching.
Right.
They just won the title. And I didn't realize Mark Davis was their owner. Did you know that? The Vegas.
I did know that, yeah.
I didn't realize. That makes sense. He's right there in Vegas. So Tom laid this video out there. Tom has big sisters, grew up going to their games. He's always loved and respected women's sports, and so that's why he wanted to get involved.
Good for Tom.
And he's obviously got a daughter now. So, yeah, very cool. You know who else was way, way into women's sports? Unfortunately not with us anymore, was Kobe.
Yeah.
I wish that could have continued for the WNBA's sake. Everything he did to connect himself to the Brianna Stewarts and the Ionescu's. What's her first name? Sabrina, thank you. And all those WNBA players, in addition to the NBA guys we talked about that looked up to Kobe, kind of worshiped the whole Black Mamba idea. That was fun to see because he and his daughter would go to those games and everything. Yeah, obviously.
So
Ends up being such a horrible, sad story in a lot of ways. But I'm glad to see that a big-time male athlete is connecting himself now to the WNBA. Maybe he gets a few extra eyeballs on that sport. So there you go. 3 GOATs, and they're going to try to raise the kids. Let's hope we don't see them all in TMZ Sports tomorrow and prove me wrong. 1 o'clock hour coming up. Texas and Xavier tonight. We also have some NFL headlines, including the update on Lamar Jackson, which just doesn't feel good for Lamar. Let's hope he can get through this. We'll tell you what happened on the Horn. Oh, hour number 2 on a Friday, and now we're getting to the bottom of that comment. I'll get to that in a second. It's Chad and Zay on a Friday, getting ready for all the Sweet 16 action. I'm Chad Hastings. He is Isaiah Collier. One of our texters now adds on, the one that thinks Giselle is not a 10, sent us a side-by-side picture of Giselle and Tom Brady and says, that is not a 10, and I need some meat on my girl. Right, Zay?
Yes, sir.
Wow. That's your problem with Giselle, huh? She needs to gain weight? Okay.
I would like to see Giselle with a little weight on her bones. That'd be real nice.
I've always thought, now that you have to do this in a healthy way, but I've always thought, wouldn't it be cool if I was, either way, male or female, if I was like some international level model like that, and I'd spent so much time having to watch my weight, watch every little detail of it, and then I met someone and they figured out a normal, nice way to tell me, by the way, let yourself go. I'm going to love you forever. Like, I would think there's got to be some comfort to that, right? Honey, have the cheesecake. Please.
Yeah.
It's the best cheesecake I've ever had. Please order a piece of it. I will love you forever.
Oh, yeah. I was getting on Bucky this morning because him, me, and Ty, they always roast my girl Lizzo. I love me some Lizzo. Love me some Lizzo.
Yeah.
Lizzo, sexy. Sexy. Yeah, me on the bones. I'm with you. I'm about that. Giselle, she had a little me on the bones. I dig that. But yeah, everybody has their own preference. It's all right.
Okay. The text line is fired up today for a lot of reasons. Specs text line 337-3776. Somebody answered our question that Dan Hurley played at Seton Hall.
That makes sense.
There we go. Little Seton Hall.
Jersey guy.
There we go. Thank you to multiple listeners who figured that out. Someone said Tom is the divorce goat. Tom Brady may be two different kinds of goats.
For real.
The goat in the NFL, but then also, is he the goat of divorces?
Yeah.
Might
now
be.
I realize he's 0 for 2. The greatest of all time.
Yeah.
0 for 2.
Now, to be fair, I don't know if he and Moynihan married.
Okay.
We'd have to check that out. They have the child
Okay,
together.
so we just have the baby moms.
I think it's just Giselle he married.
Okay, Tom, keeping it gangster.
Keeping it gangster.
Yeah, just the baby moms, no ring. Just out here wilding in the streets. That's what I'm talking about.
That is it. I think that is true. But yes,
and she got her own.
apparently Tom
Like,
Brady goats all of it.
Yeah, she an actress and stuff, so she got her own. You ain't got to worry about the child support and nothing. Yeah, Tom doing it right.
Someone says, I 100% agree with Zay. I think that might have been on the Lizzo comment. Someone else says, Zay thinks Lizzo is a 10. I don't trust him on the subject. Now, I don't know if you said she was a 10.
Yeah, I didn't say that.
You
I
said
said she's sexy.
She's sexy. A lot of different
That can range. I've seen 5.
There's a lot of different kind of sexy out there. Someone else says, I agree with the other texter. Giselle is not all that. She's attractive, no doubt, but not the end of all good-looking women. Well, there is no end of all good-looking women. Don't be silly. I'm not saying she's the greatest looking woman on earth. I'm saying she's an international model and apparently is going to pull off or try to pull off one of the most normal, average, celebrity divorces we've ever
We
seen.
saw Giselle belly rolling in the crop top.
Come on,
y'all. I don't think they've seen that video.
Yeah, go watch
watch that video. Recent. It
Giselle
was recent Giselle, which she looked way too happy after the divorce in that moment. Like, she looked happy as hell. I know that hurts Thomas a little bit.
The thing I like about Giselle is there are probably international models that are a prepped 10. When they get completely prepped, they are an absolute 10. There might be days where you'd see them out and about where you might not say they were a 10. To me, Giselle is that everyday 10. She's an everyday, good-looking 10, you call it a 9, call it whatever you want. I don't think Giselle could be bad looking.
Yeah, this is like wake up in the morning breath at all, no makeup,
right.
Still a baddie.
Yeah. I mean, still looks incredible to me. But hey, to each his own. I understand that. So I didn't realize we were going to get into a Giselle's not as hot as people think discussion today. But hey, you never know. Says, don't get me wrong, Giselle's beautiful, but I prefer. Oh, here now we're getting into the discussion.
Let's get it.
I prefer Candace Swainpool. Candace Swainpool's a hottie. I mean, come on. If you don't know who that is, go ahead and do a Google search. So maybe we'll end up in that conversation today. But a lot of basketball to get into, some football as well. In fact, before we get to some more basketball talk, let's get these NFL notes out because the latest Lamar Jackson story to me today is just bizarre. I don't like this for Lamar. We've talked about how him not having an agent could be hurting him in certain situations. because when you have an agent, the agent can go talk to teams and other agents, but Lamar can't do that because he's a player. So this is now a new story, though, in the league. The league has sent out a memo to all 32 teams that you have to talk to Lamar Jackson. You are not allowed to talk to a guy named Ken Francis, which sounds like a name Joey Tribbiani would make up for himself on Friends. Ken Francis is not his agent. Ken Francis is a friend of his. They're in business together on some kind of a health or fitness thing, weightlifting deal or whatever.
Yeah, I think they've opened like a weightlifting
what did I see? Like
facility.
A travel weightlifting or some kind of thing that. Something in that world, which is cool. But then something happened where I guess Ken Francis was assumed to be talking to some teams. Now Ken Francis denies it. Lamar Jackson put out something on social media saying he never tried to negotiate anything. What are y'all saying? Quit lying and all that. Hopefully this is just nothing, Zay, but it just doesn't, to me, it doesn't shed the right light on Lamar Jackson. It doesn't look like, that makes it look like you might not be completely buttoned up. That you don't have all the T's crossed and I's dotted and everything figured out. I hope that's not the case.
Well, to these GMs and owners, you not having an agent already shows to them that you're not buttoned up. So whatever you say, this isn't how normally people go about things in the NFL, especially for superstar level quarterbacks like him. And we've been talking about it for a long time about him getting slighted because he's on his own. And who do you go and talk to? You talk to his uncle, Uncle Leroy? Talk to moms, his auntie? Like, who do you really talk to?
Yeah.
And
because I keep reading that if it's not him, his mom is somehow a part of it.
That's just...
And by the way, that wouldn't be the worst thing if she was an actual agent.
Right. She ain't certified or nothing.
And that's the thing with this guy, by the way, if I didn't say that. This Ken Francis dude, he is not certified by the PA. So that's why they're saying, hey, only people that are certified are allowed to be an agent, and he doesn't have one of those, so it's him. Yeah. You have to go to Lamar.
There's already a bias with your agent. Think about the bias with your moms trying to get you money.
Yeah, that's true.
And think about the moms. Moms is out here on some mom logic stuff like, y'all gave this pig, Deshaun Watson, all this money? This pig?
Yeah.
Deshaun Watson? Look at my boy.
My baby would never do that.
My baby would never. I didn't teach him that way.
My baby knows how to get a massage the right way.
He knows better. He knows I smacked the out of him if he did anything like that.
He's a good boy.
He's a good Christian boy.
Give him some money.
Exactly. And these guys are like, look, lady, the Browns are effing stupid. We don't know. I don't know. I wish that the Browns aren't a normal organization. And I also think the fact that it's in that division too just makes the salt go on the wound a little sooner.
It's a little
it just makes it's a little bit closer. Because now Moms is like, oh, the Browns ain't nothing. We always beat them.
And because it is that, because he faces him twice a year,
there's
got a little extra.
There's so much, and I hate that for Lamar Jackson. I wish that he could get a deal done. Is he going to play on this tag? We don't know. It seems like he'd be that type of guy. Maybe not, because he didn't have to play this last year when they didn't sign him, which he wanted money this past year, but he ended up playing, and he got hurt. Literally the worst thing that could happen for somebody that did what he did. So you feel for him, but also he has to understand this ain't the way the game's played. And if he wants to get what he wants, and he might have to go more traditional and hire somebody that could negotiate this in the right way.
Yeah, I hope he does, since that's kind of the way they do business here, but we'll see. Hopefully that story does not get in the way too much. Also this week, as we've been talking a lot of basketball, the last 2 days, yesterday was Bryce Young's throwing day, pro day at Bama. The day before that was C.J. Stroud in Columbus. And Zay, great news for Panthers fans and Texans fans. Both of them looked really good. Maybe they weren't absolutely perfect, but both of them showed up like they needed to, and it looks like they're pretty much locked in at 1 and 2.
Yeah, that's what we've expected all year long. The big question for the quarterbacks that are supposed to go in the first round is Anthony Richardson and Will Levis, who's having his pro day earlier or as we speak up there in Kentucky. So, yeah, I'm not surprised about Bryce Young or CJ Stroud. I thought Bryce Young yesterday, 44 for 50, and guys were dropping balls on a couple of those, incompletions and stuff. And how do you not like both of those guys? They got good head on their shoulders. They're winners. You saw what CJ Stroud did against Georgia. You saw what Bryce Young did against Georgia last season, winning the Heisman Trophy. Just with Bryce Young, is his height going to be a factor? Is him being durable, is that going to be an issue for the long haul? Because guys his size, Kyler Murray, with the way Kyler Murray plays, who knows how many years he has left. Does Bryce Young play like that? No, but it only takes that one hit, Chad.
Yeah, nobody quite plays like Kyler, but it's a great point. And thankfully for Young, he weighed in at over 200.
Yes.
Because the fear was he was going to be 190-something.
That's light.
190-something is not what you're looking to draft as a quarterback.
Yeah.
So, I was glad to see that both of those guys look good, and it would appear that I've seen the latest mock drafts that we're looking at have Carolina going with Stroud, actually. And then the Texans ending up with Young. I've seen one do that.
Okay.
I've seen them both ways, though. I've seen them, both situations. Carolina, by the way, adds another receiver today, DJ Chark, LSU guy. Remember that name? DJ Chark, 1-year deal. So Adam Thielen and DJ Chark are in Carolina waiting for a quarterback to be drafted. DJ Moore just got sent to Chicago so they could move and get up there. That's interesting to look at. And then, Zay, back to Lamar Jackson for a second. If I'm Lamar Jackson and I read today that the Baltimore Ravens have reached a 1-year deal with Nelson Aguilar. Ba-bam! You've been saying they need to show him with a badass receiver. There he is, Zay. Nelson Aguilar, USC product. Come on.
Nelson Aguilar is a solid 2 if you have a really, really good one.
Damn, so close.
And a good tight end, too, which they have. They have Mark Andrews.
Yeah,
they have a really good tight end.
They do have that.
Elite tight end.
Yeah.
But no, dropping babies like Aguilar, he don't push the needle for nobody.
Yeah, there is a little wonk to that name. Nothing against Nelson. I agree with you. I think in the right situation, Aguilar's a really effective 2. But he's not that absolute 1. Can they ever put an absolute 1 out there with Lamar? Would Hollywood have been one of those guys?
No.
Because just trying to get there.
They want Hollywood Brown to be a 1. He ain't.
It just hadn't, yeah.
They want to try to make him like a Tyreek Hill or somebody, quick twitch. He's not that.
And Hollywood is in Arizona now, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So Nelson Aguilar is headed to Baltimore. So 1 year, $3.25 million on the deal. How about this? Entering today, the Ravens and Jaguars were the only remaining teams that had yet to sign a free agent from another team. Just those 2. Jacksonville and Baltimore.
The Jags are going to be cold next year. It all depends on Trevor Lawrence, like all other 32 teams in the league. It depends on your quarterback. But add in Calvin Ridley. Like, we forgot about his gambling ass.
Yeah.
He's obviously clean now. He said that he did his time.
Back with some forgiveness,
yeah,
maybe?
Forgiveness. He ain't going to Vegas anytime soon. So, yeah, he'll be locked in down there in Duval. They still got Zay Jones. They still got Christian Kirk. We know they lost their wide receivers coach for obvious reasons. He's down here at the 40 acres. And I don't know if they replaced him yet or who they've replaced him with, but
yeah, I had to look that up.
They got one of the best wide receiver rooms in the league. Got Travis Etienne there in the backfield. Pretty decent defense. Look for them to make some serious noise in the league next year. A team that made the playoffs.
That's a good point. So we thought we'd get some NFL notes in there. Obviously, football never dies for us. We are only 34 days till the draft. 34 days away from Stroud and Young. How far does Jalen Carter fall? How much does Will Anderson take advantage of Jalen Carter's fall? Nolan Smith, all those guys. Where's Bijan getting drafted? Is somebody going up? I heard Rod say something interesting the other day. He thinks a team will have to move to get Bijan Robinson. He thinks whoever drafts him, it's not going to be their spot. Somebody's going to move to get him. So we'll just have to look at how soon could that be? How impressed is one team with him? Most would think it's not going to be like Philly at 10, but how soon after that? might somebody get a little nervous and say, oh, you know what, we got to go. We got to go up and get him. So that's obviously going to be something to watch. Texans fans, you get 2-12. And, of course, Cowboys fans, you know where you are. You're at 26. What will the Cowboys be looking at by the time they get there? And who are they going to draft? And are they going to leave? Would they possibly leave a name like Bijan Robinson to the side? Would they stare at a name like Darnell Washington and keep moving? You and I don't want them to do that. Me specifically, because I would love for them to draft Darnell Washington if he's there, because I think tight end is something they ought to be thinking about. But we'll see. 34 days till the draft.
Yeah, I mean, Hendershot and Ferguson, they're solid, but you got to replace Dalton Schultz. He's off to Houston for that $9 million that he's getting. You know that chemistry that him and Dak Prescott had. Will Darnell Washington even be available?
Right. Is he there? And
like what he did in Indianapolis.
I know.
Somebody might take a chance on him with all these good tight ends. And if he's gone, that's fine. There's still going to be tight ends available. I mean, oh boy, from Northwestern that we saw Mel Kiper Jr.'s mock draft for the Cowboys, he's going to be around, and he showed out.
He was
in
badass,
Indianapolis.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure he'll be around too. And I think the Cowboys could use another guy with DeMarcus Lawrence being in his 30s, early 30s.
Mm-hmm.
I could see them getting another edge guy, defensive line player. But I agree with Rod. I could see a team moving up to get Bijan Robinson. He's that special.
We will see. Yeah, it probably won't be as high as a Saquon Barkley, but I don't know that it will be 26 either. I think it may end up being somewhere between those two things where Bijan Robinson goes off the board. So a lot of football obviously going on, but the big focus today, it's about basketball. Texas and Xavier tonight, the late night tip. We will continue to talk about that. Also up next, we'll get you a little bit of a flex segment. An area coach gets a big award, and we got visits and offers to talk about. Yesterday we talked about Blake Frazier visiting Texas. Got another local guy visiting a couple places this weekend. We'll get you updated there, and we'll tell you where you can go see all of that information, plus some more good freaky videos and pictures that people have been putting on Flex. We do love that. Hope you're having a good Friday. It is Sweet 16 time. Kansas State stays alive along with 3 other teams last night. Houston and Texas trying to do the same thing tonight, and we're talking about it on The Horn.
Chad and Zay.
Rolling through a Friday. Would this be the birthday girl from yesterday, Shaka Khan?
That's right.
There we go. Shaka Khan to go with Judas Priest and Mountain. It's a good festival we're putting together on a Friday. Hope you're having a good one. A lot of great texts coming in about all kinds of subjects. The Gisele Bündchen conversation continues. Some of our texters prefer Moynihan. Some of our texters prefer Candace Swainpool. Some prefer, what was the other one? Can't remember. I just had a. No, I can't remember what the other one was. Yeah, though it was Moynihan I was thinking of. All right, so we've had that. The Gisele's not as attractive was weird. I never thought we would have that conversation, but hey, you never know. That's what's great about the text line. Specs text line, whatever you want to get into, 337-3776. Or if you want to talk Texas and Xavier and your excitement level, because we got a lot of people freaking out with the nerves. Zay is extremely nervous about the Sweet 16. Longhorn fans trying to process 15 years of feelings here. This is not like you've been there 3 out of the last 4 or anything. 15 years will cause some nerves. It's understandable.
Yeah, because the coach for Tennessee and the coach for Marquette got a little stale during the end of one of those coaches' careers here, and the whole time for the other coach. The whole time it was stale. I mean, if you like winning NIT championships, then cool. We had Brandon Lang betting on NIT games and stuff, so clearly people care about it.
That was disturbing when he mentioned that yesterday.
Tough. I was tough to be Lang. We went right
let
past
him go.
it.
I just let him go.
I had to just let him go. I couldn't believe he said that. It's like, yeah, we did Utah, whatever, and feeling good about that. I was like, yo, we ain't trying to talk no NIT. Be like,
no.
We love you, but we
ain't
nobody watching that.
We cannot.
My pops hit me up the other day. You watching this North Texas, Oklahoma State game? Hell no, TC.
No.
Hell no, I ain't watched that.
No, I am not.
I'm locked in on some serious high quality basketball. I know Oklahoma State shouldn't have made it, but I ain't trying to watch them.
When it was my job and the Longhorns were in that NIT that they eventually won, I watched those games. The years that A&M's been in the NIT because they're my team, I've watched it. Otherwise, no.
Brutal.
No, I will not watch that. All right, a lot of good text coming in. Our man Tom McKay over at AV Consultation says, I prefer my wife. At least I have a chance. There you go. There you go. Good attitude. That's a good attitude there. We are all married to the most beautiful woman in the world, of course. Good call, Tom. All right, we'll get back to some basketball conversation. First, though, let's get you a little bit of a flex segment here. We'll give an area coach some love and some more visits and offers to remind you of.
Flex ATX for the best high school sports coverage. Listen to the Horn and go to FLXATX.com. Flex 30 is brought to you by Brain Vault. Brain Vault is a revolutionary and patented mouthguard that has been proven to help reduce the risk of concussion. Visit BrainVault.com and join the movement.
All right, great coaches usually don't want to be mentioned. They want you to talk about the kids and the programs and all that. But occasionally we need to give the coaches some love, too. So the UIL has put out their Sponsor Excellence Awards for the 2022 run. And maybe this is stretching the flex area just a little bit. But, hey, we've done it with Harges, Colleen Ellison Eagles. So we'll do it with the folks in Salado.
We talked about Carthage this week.
We did mention Carthage because of the great base running out there in East Texas. We'll go find the great high school stuff if it's out there. Let's give a coach in Salado a little bit of love because Corey Baird got one of these awards, the Excellence Awards. She's been coaching high school athletics for 24 years, last 8 of them as the head cross-country coach over in Salado. She's led her teams to 3 appearances in the state meet, finishing as high as 6th in 2021. Also coached one of her runners to the 2019 4A girls individual title. Salado has captured 4 straight district titles in her time, and she has also led the Eagles track and field team the past 4 years. So shout out to Coach Baird and the folks there in Salado for getting it done and getting some love from the UIL.
Yeah,
very
absolutely.
Cool.
That's big time. Love Salado.
Yeah, very cool. It's a good place. One of my best friends in high school moved there from Salado. So every time I drive through, I always think of him. It is a cool little community there.
I used to talk to this country chick that was from Salado.
Is that right?
Yeah, and then she realized I wasn't country enough.
Not country enough.
Yeah.
What was the moment you realized that?
When
do you think
I went
she
to
realized
an
that?
event with her, and I think she was expecting boots, and I was wearing Air Forces.
It was a shoe thing.
Yeah, it was a shoe thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
They say you can tell a lot about somebody from their shoes.
Oh, yeah.
In this case, Country Girl was thinking, I don't see boots. Okay.
I mean, she didn't have a gap tooth. The way you sound like she got a gap tooth and a toothpick.
We're going to scratch him off the list. She does have a little low voice in my mind. I don't know why. I turned her into like Wilford Brimley there. I didn't mean to do that.
Yeah, I'm not talking to no Wilford Brimley
Terribly
voice
sorry.
chick.
Terribly sorry. A couple of things to keep up here on some of the flex athletes in the area. Our man Jake Helms, the talented long snapper from Westlake, class of 24 guy. And I believe he was the all flex long snapper, if I am not mistaken. He's gotten an offer from Air Force. Congrats to him for that. We've been telling you about Adrian Wilson, the talented receiver over there at Weiss. He is going to be at SMU this weekend on a visit.
Nice.
So congrats there to Adrian for that trip, and SMU will get a look at his talent. Fatu Makuba, he's a busy man. We told you yesterday he was going to go to Oklahoma State this weekend. He went to Kansas State either yesterday or today. So he's visited Kansas State now and Oklahoma State, and we'll see how the offer list changes for him. Also, if you like a good freaky video or picture, Flex retweeted this one from Adrian Wilson. If you want to follow the talented Weiss receiver, he's at Adrian Wilson on Twitter, but that O in Wilson is the 8 that I'm assuming is the number he wears. He high jumped 6 feet at a track meet, and Zay, he did it old school. He didn't even do the Fosbury flop, go back first over the bar. He just jumped the bar. They don't have video, but they do have pictures.
Like he jumping the fence.
Even the pictures are freaky.
It's crazy.
Well done, Adrian. Well done.
Yeah, you got to have so much bounce and confidence to do that.
Oh, my God. Continue to send those pictures and videos of all that kind of stuff. Track and field stuff, the weightlifting, people, working out, huddle videos, obviously, for those trying to get that football attention at FLXATX on your social media. We do the Flex segment every day about 1:30. All right, Zay, you've talked about your nerves today for Texas, but you also broke the game down earlier on in the show. Let me ask you this. Give me, let's say, 5 minutes in first media timeout. Let's start with the basics. First media timeout. If your nerves turn negative, if it turns into what you think you could see on the bad side, what will they be dealing with at that first timeout? What will Rodney Terry need to deal with if you're feeling those negative nerves after the first time out?
That would probably mean Xavier's playing Texas straight up. So when Texas tries to feed Dylan DeSue down low, nobody's helping. They're playing their man. They're allowing Jack Nungy, which I think that's probably going to be the matchup, to play Dylan DeSue straight up. No help side, no double teams. And Dylan DeSue struggles to score, because this is somebody's 7 feet. He's not the most athletic guy, but he'll block a shot every now and then. Against Kennesaw State, he had the game-winning block, so he's capable. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, if things go bad, then I'm seeing that. And it's a long game. There's so many things that could change. We saw Penn State go on that 10-0 run, and then Coach Terry calls the timeout, and Texas goes on the run to win the game. So much could happen. Last night we saw Gonzaga. They were down by 12 at one point, and Tennessee, they were up by 9 against FAU. So I don't want to get too high, don't want to get too low, but Texas should be able to score on these guys. They should. They should be able to attack Kunkel and Boom and Hunter. Kobe Jones, he's a good defender, but Tyrese Hunter has to be really aggressive off the dribble, get into the lane, making plays for others. That's why I compared, when you watch Marquise Noel last night, he was on the attack nonstop.
Yes, he was.
And you don't have to necessarily look for your shot, but when you get to the lane, they have to think you're going to score. And if you get a couple of layups, that'll open up everything for everybody. Brock Cunningham coming in the game, when Brock starts hitting threes, that changes this team and their confidence. It makes them a lot harder to guard because nobody's paying attention to Brock. That's a we live moment. If you're Sean Miller and Brock Cunningham shoots a three, even though he shoots 42%, we'll live. because that means Texas isn't doing what they really want to do, and that's get the ball Marcus Carr, Serge Jabari Rice, Dylan Dessou's hands, Timmy Allen's. You're in, guys at the end of the list, down the bench, even though Brock Cunningham is that glue guy for the Horns, he's not that scorer. So what word are you going to live with for both teams? Are you going to live with Jack Nungy getting the ball in the post and scoring a couple of times? Because Texas is going to have to play straight up. They have to. Xavier's just way too good at shooting from the outside to help. You cannot help on Kobe Jones. You cannot help on Sule Boom. And you cannot help on Adam Kunkel. So Dylan Dessou, Christian Bishop, whoever has that matchup with Jack Nungy tonight, they're going to have their work cut out for them, but you're going to have to live with a couple of buckets. I'm okay with Jack Nungy getting around 16 points tonight. I'm not okay with Adam Kunkel getting 16 or Soleil Boom getting 20-something. I'm not good with that. If Kunkel starts hitting threes, look out. Texas is in trouble. But this team, they'll be ready tonight.
What if Nungy gets 36 and 13? You comfortable with that?
Not at all.
Talk about Drew Timme for a second, man. Gonzaga gets the win. They come back on UCLA. 36 and 13 from Timme. What did he show you last night? That was impressive.
It was impressive. I mean, we don't know if he'll win a ring this year, but he's up there with the Christian Laettners and the Tyler Hansboroughs. And the difference between those two guys and Timme, those guys have rings with Duke and North Carolina. But he has that same, hatred. Nobody likes him unless if you're a Gonzaga fan.
Right.
He has an old school way of playing. And now, Chad, he got better in the offseason. Like when the Horns saw him last year when they went to Spokane and he gave the Horns 35. And that was I was so mad at Chris Beard after that for not doubling him, because you got to live. You got to live with what they got going on outside. And that team was better last year with number 2 overall pick, Chet Holmgren.
Yep.
They were better than they were this year, which this is one of Mark Few's, best coaching performances. But we said them being a number 3 seed and not 1 or 2, they don't have all the expectations. They were tied in the WCC with St. Mary's for, the conference championship. So they didn't have the same expectations. And Drew Timme this offseason, he's worked on his ball handling. So he'll get the ball off the boards and he'll push it himself. And that's tough to guard. When he's at the top of the key, you can't double nobody at the top of the key. That's nuts. People could see the whole court and stuff. It's easier to double him when he's on the block and has his back turned to the basket. And they didn't do it in the second half, which they should have. Mick Cronin's probably kicking himself in the butt. There were times where Drew Timme was holding the ball for 10 seconds, it seemed like, and then he'd make his quick move.
And it was busting by guys, yeah.
And guys started to get hot by then, like Schroeder. That was a huge shot by him, the little Villanova play that they ran to win the national championship for Jay Wright. Good call by Mark Few there. I thought Smith was really good off the bench, but man, Drew Timme, when he's dribbling up the court and putting it between his legs and then backing you down and quick spinning and shooting those floaters and hit a big 3 early in the game, which kind of, expanded everything for Gonzaga. When he hit that 3, now UCLA, who was without their big man, that African brother, Banya, and then they were without, as we know, Jaden Clark, Pac-12 Defensive Player of the Year, it was going to hurt them eventually. We knew these injuries were going to come back to bite these guys eventually, from Tennessee to yesterday with what we saw against I just lost
UConn, Arkansas?
Yeah, UConn, Arkansas too.
Yep.
They got injuries on Arkansas side. So you might be able to win a couple of games, but injuries, they'll bite you. And UCLA losing Clark and Zakai Ziegler with Tennessee, it ended up biting both of those teams, and that's why they're not advancing to the Elite Eight.
Yeah, rough stuff there. But UConn, Gonzaga, FAU, and K-State advanced last night. Tonight, it'll start with that San Diego State-Bama game. We'll keep talking hoops as we roll through. Jeff Ketchum going to join us at 2:05. We'll get his thoughts on Texas basketball and kind of this Rodney Terry situation. Ketch was definitely one of the guys commenting a few weeks ago about the Rodney Terry situation, kind of how he thought it might roll out. We'll get his thoughts on it. What's he hearing behind the scenes about where this is going? What does he think Rodney Terry has now done for himself by getting Texas to the Sweet 16? We'll talk to him about that. Plus, football always on the brain. We're 22 days away from the spring game. We'll hear some of the things that Ketch has been hearing about Texas football as we head into this big junior day this weekend. Big recruiting weekend coming for the Longhorns. Up next is Where We At in Society with Zay, and we hope you're having a great Friday. Remember, quick note, baseball game's going to be on 101.9 and 1260 tonight at 7 on that first pitch with Texas and Texas Tech. Basketball right here on 104.9, also over on Coke FM. Texas and Xavier, about 9 o'clock on that tip. Scheduled for 8:45, but probably a little bit later than that. Pregame is at 8:30 right here on the Horn.
Chad and Zay.
All right, let's keep going on a Friday. My advice to you is if you are going to see Motley Crue later on in the year or whenever, you might want to bring like your headphones and a streaming service with you so that you can play the song when they start. Otherwise, it's not going to sound like this. It's not going to sound like this at all. This is Dr. Feelgood from Motley Crue. Vince Neil no longer sounds like this. Not close.
That's too bad.
I wish he did, because when they were in their prime, this was a hell of a live show. It's not quite the same now. Those other guys are trying to protect him so much. They're doing a good job.
Yeah,
they're trying. It is tough, and I think they're going back out with Def Leppard later in the year. I'm not going to guarantee I'm not going to see Motley Crue again, but I won't just see Motley Crue. It's going to have to be somebody else. I'll go see Def Leppard and get Motley Crue as a kicker. I will not go see Motley Crue alone. It's not worth it.
Yeah.
The poor guy.
That's a shame.
I know. It's crazy. There's a lot going on with him. But shout out to the Crew in their prime and for them trying to still keep it going. That stadium tour was fun to see. Motley Crue, Shaka Khan today, Judas Priest, and Mountain. There's a good festival we're putting together on a Friday. A lot going on. Big weekend in the area like we've talked about, with COTA hosting NASCAR, with ACC hosting the match play. If you're into soccer and you're an Austin FC freak, got a home game there as well, as their season is getting cranked up. So Q2 is going to be rocking tomorrow evening, I believe, is when that game happens. So a lot of stuff going on around the area, but obviously we're focusing in on Texas basketball with Xavier tonight. That is about a 9 o'clock tip. Texas baseball moving over to 1260 and 1019. Huge series for them. Texas has won 11 in a row now in this homestand. Zay, you told them to go 10-4. So far they've gone 11-0. And now we're going to find out really what it means, because Texas Tech's pretty damn good. They're going to play A&M in College Station on Tuesday, get into that conference schedule. We're going to really find out what Texas is.
Yeah, and this is why David Pierce made the schedule this way. I mean, he knew his team would be young, and you need some confidence builders to right before you start conference play, and they did that. They took care of business. You can't help who's in front of you. Winning the 11 straight games, I think that's great for this ball club.
By the way, I couldn't remember earlier. I knew somebody had texted in another woman they preferred over Giselle. It was Kate Upton. Kate Upton.
Oh,
somebody said Giselle cannot compete with the Kate Upton curve. So that is certainly
Verlander know what's going on.
Certainly a different. Yes, Mr. Verlander. Kate Upton going to be in New York now, hanging out.
She'll enjoy that.
Watching Justin, yeah. All right, we got Jeff Ketchum coming up at 2:05. Talk some Longhorn stuff. Big junior weekend this weekend for football, closing in on the spring game. And, of course, Texas basketball. We'll get his thoughts on where the whole Rodney Terry thing is in his mind. That's up next. Right now, let's get you where we're at in society and talk to Zay.
Where are we at in society today?
All right, Zay, I've not seen anything come across my Twitter account. What are we doing here?
Yeah, we got some audio, Chad.
Oh, okay.
Yep, death, taxes, and Isaiah Thomas hating on Michael Jordan once again.
Oh, come on.
He can't help himself.
Wow.
He can't help himself. And if y'all don't know already, my full name is Isaiah Jordan Collier. My parents are huge basketball junkies, and they named me probably after the most petty rivalry in NBA history. You go as far as saying that at this point. Like, he's still talking about it.
It's right there.
And after you hear this, it just gets worse. So earlier this week, we talked about Mario Chambers saying that nobody fears LeBron like they did Jordan. And we talked about why people would fear Jordan and not fear LeBron. I heard Gilbert Arenas. He made a good point last week or earlier this week and said, you know what? When nobody fears a guy that likes to pass. You fear somebody that's going to maybe drop 60 on you, like Kobe. We fear Kobe. You'll fear Durant. You fear Jordan. Those guys are all capable of dropping 60. But a guy, we know LeBron doesn't want to drop 60. He can, but he doesn't want to. So I got what Gilbert Arenas is saying, but I'm pretty sure everybody fears LeBron too. It's just in different ways. Well, Isaiah Thomas, Zeke, was on a podcast recently, and he was asked that question, and he couldn't believe it. and he just went off. He didn't even answer the question.
Oh, here we
This
go.
is what he said.
All right.
Every time you hit him, he was crying. Oh,
You know what?
Going to David Stern's office, going to the commissioner's office, having a meeting about getting hit, getting fouled. You got to change the rules. I'm like, wait a minute. I watch Dr. J get beat up. I watch Magic get beat up. I watch Max get beat up. I watch Bird get beat up. I done got beat up. Everybody get beat up. But wait a minute. Now we got to change the rules because hit.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, there we go. There it is.
Still petty. Still bitter.
Still bitter after all these years.
Like, it can't just be the Dream Team thing anymore. Like, this is deep hatred.
Now he's getting into the whole Jordan rules, the way things changed, because that speaks to why their run stopped. That's where it gets very personal for Isaiah and those Pistons, because they believe that that's why the run stopped. Not because Michael and Scotty and the Bulls were better, but because the league altered things, because the league didn't allow them to be the Pistons anymore. And if the league had allowed them to be the Pistons, the Bulls never would have gotten started. That's the mindset, I think, of some of those guys. You know what I mean?
I'll tell Isaiah Thomas this. As much as I love him and take the name, he better be lucky Scottie Pippen had migraines in 1990. Because they were right there in Game 7 of that playoff series in 1990. And Scottie Pippen had his migraines. Chicago Bull fans still kill him for that. But they were right there then.
Yeah.
And then a year later, what you talking about? Clean sweep. Zeke can't even look at old boy on the way out. Before
ducking out
before the clock even expires. And I think it eats Zeke up that Jordan really doesn't acknowledge him. Like, Zeke always talks about Mike in every interview, this and that. And
Michael does not do the same.
Michael doesn't.
Yeah.
Michael will not acknowledge him. And I know that drives Zeke crazy. And Magic Johnson, he's the only one that could squash it, but Magic ain't going to do that.
Yeah.
At this point, he could have done it a long time ago, and Zeke just keeps getting worse. But, yeah.
And you're right. He never answered that question.
He never answered it.
That did not speak to fearing Michael Jordan.
Like, why would we fear that he changed the rules? You shouldn't fear this guy.
Yeah.
If you do fear him, it's because he changed the rules. He cheated in what Zeke is saying.
Yeah, he just used it as an opportunity to kind of do a little bit of a rip and say Michael was griping to the league and got rules changed. But he never spoke to, and thankfully he didn't, because if he had said something silly like, oh, I can't understand why anybody would have been afraid of Michael Jordan. If he'd gone down that road, it would have sounded even dumber.
Yeah.
Because come on, it's Michael Jordan. Are you serious? Just like people feared his team. People feared his team. People feared the Bird Celtics teams. That's what happens with great teams. They feared everybody for different reasons, but of course they ended up fearing the Jordan Bulls.
Yeah, it's just the masculine thing to say, I'm not scared of nobody.
Right.
So everybody, like when you in competitive sports, especially all these alpha males, all these big egos, when somebody says they fear someone, it gets taken differently. Like I remember Steven Jackson, they had Kobe on their show with Matt Barnes, Up in Smoke. They had Kobe on their show, and they talked to Kobe, and it was a great interview. Kobe passes, and Steven Jackson says, yeah, I never said this when he was alive, but he's the only player I ever feared. Steven Jackson would have went to his grave if Kobe would have been alive, not saying
he
that.
Couldn't admit
he couldn't admit it, but when Kobe passed away, he was like, Kobe's the only player I've ever feared. That's it.
He would have admitted it after they both retired.
Yeah. No,
maybe.
Probably not.
Maybe.
They were retired. They were retired.
Both of them were already out?
They're already out when they interviewed them.
Oh, and he still wouldn't say it.
And he still wouldn't say it. Like,
That's
Kobe
funny.
was in his face, and he wouldn't let Kobe know that because just the satisfaction Kobe would have had at that moment. And those Lakers-Spurs series, when Steven Jackson on the Spurs, early 2000s, those were battles.
Yeah. Oh, no doubt. No doubt. Yeah, that's interesting stuff. I really do wish that Isaiah Thomas had gone into the actual question there. But hey, you're right. It's just that pettiness is just different with those dudes. One of these days, Magic, you got to sit them down and let them talk it out and let us all hear it. That's what we've been dreaming of.
And you're the king in my hometown, which You remember we talked about it with
Oh, right.
Zeke. He
The
put
Chicago thing.
My brothers and my sisters put you on. They helped you become king. They made life comfortable for you and let you know where to go and where not to go. And this is how you treat me, MJ?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're right. It's
I'm
just
gonna remember that.
It's just constant lack of respect
so
that Thomas
many layers.
feels. And he might be right. He might actually be right about a lot of it because we have talked about when it comes to petty and when it comes to strangeness, Michael Jordan kind of runs the show for that.
Yeah.
That is what he does. We get that over the years. All right, there's where we at in society. 2 o'clock hour coming up. Check in with Jeff Ketchum from Orange Bloods, the Rodney Terry situation, Texas basketball and how they're playing, and football going into a big junior weekend and headed towards the spring game. It's all coming up on the Horn.
Chad and Zay.
All right, hour number 3 on a Friday, getting ready for Sweet 16 action. Texas and Xavier got to wait till everybody else is tipped off, and then they get to it. Zay, you're going way back on this one, aren't you? This goes back a ways?
It depends.
Okay, this feels like the like Rapper's Delight kind of time frame. Like
Yeah, there's that.
You hear what I'm hearing?
Yeah, there's that version. Don't push me, cause
Right.
I'm close to the edge.
That's all the way back to, is that
I don't know who that is.
Is that Grandmaster Flash or the Furious Five, or is it somebody else? Anyway, I can't remember who it is. But okay, so you hear what I'm hearing there, but this is newer.
Yes.
This is a little newer. What do you got?
This is the Diddy version with Mace.
Okay. All right, fair enough. P. Diddy and Mace getting us started this hour. That's Isaiah Collier. I'm Chad Hastings, and it is almost time for Sweet 16 Chapter 2 tonight. It will start with San Diego State and Bama, 5:30. Then it's the Miami-Houston game. Then you got Princeton and Creighton. And then, of course, it ends with Texas and Xavier. All TBS and CBS on your television. And obviously, if you want to match up that sound and hear Craig's call, 104.9, also on Coke FM tonight. We will have the pregame for you at 8:30. Let's dig into that and some football stuff right now on the Vaqueros Cafe and Cantina hotline. He is Jeff Ketchum of OrangeBloods.com at GKCatch on Twitter if you want to give him a follow. Ketch, how are you, sir?
Oh, I'm a little under the weather today, but I'm all right. I'll be fine.
Okay, we got a sunny day.
You know what
Go ahead.
I didn't mean to cut you. I was just going to say, can we just take a moment and give some flowers to Craig Way? I just don't know that enough people realize how good Texas fans have it in terms of the play-by-play guy, and really for like 3 decades. It's amazing to think of who Texas has had as its play-by-play guy going back to the 70s. And it's like Texas has never not had a world-class play-by-play guy for the radio. So I just wanted to give some love to Craig Way. You just mentioning his name reminded me of how good it would sound to match up the audio with the game.
Yeah, no, we got a lot of people doing that, and the digital age we're in really allows for it too. Like with all the with the DVRs and streaming and the way people do it now, they can match it up pretty easily. So we do appreciate those folks that are doing it. Catch, before we get into some of the off the court stuff, give me your sense of this team right now as they get ready to face Xavier. What do you think of this matchup, and do you have a feel that this team has a good shot to get to Houston?
I mean, of course they've got a good shot to get to Houston. I think they're playing incredibly good basketball. You go back to the Baylor and TCU games on the road, which probably about it. You win one of those 2 games and you end up with a share of the Big 12 championship, as opposed to the situation that unfolded. They've played great basketball since then. They murdered Kansas at home. Then they did it again a week later, knocking out other ranked teams. I thought they were really good last week. And I think this is the thing that I think is most important. I think them getting through last weekend takes all of the strain and pressure off of this team. It can't be said, enough that ending what was a 15-year streak of not getting to the Sweet 16, they did play with a lot of pressure last week. They were the team that, had they not won last weekend, they would be the team that, you had a good season, but it doesn't count. Now it counts. Now you're talking about one of the 4 or 5 best teams in the history of the Texas program. And if they get through to Houston, you're talking about arguably the best team in the history of this entire program. So, they're playing really good basketball. I think that Xavier is a tasty little matchup for them. I am reminded of things that I have said on this show months ago, where I kind of have my 80-point rule for this team. That if they're giving up 80, it can be problematic. I wonder how this game plays today. If the winner is in the 80-point range, I think that means the two teams played Xavier's game. I think if it plays a little bit less than that, I think it plays probably how Texas would want to play this game. They want to neutralize that three-point shooting. I'm expecting a fantastic game, but I trust this team. And I think it's taken us a while to get there, that on any given night you trust this team. But they're fantastic on neutral site games so far this year. You know, the true road games are over with, and that was their one little bugaboo throughout the season. And now, you know, they know what they're playing for. I think they're playing free. I would be surprised if when we watch this team tonight, we don't see a loose, aggressive team that doesn't look like it's playing tight, that isn't worried about the moment. I think the moment was last weekend, and now I think the next moment is, should they get to the Final Four? Again, we're really talking about quite a historic season.
Catch. Coach Terry's done a terrific job, and I thought, you know, that 10-0 run Penn State went on last week and the timeout that he had to regroup the guys and send them back out on the court, and you saw Dylan DeSue did what he did, basically take over the last part of the game. Marcus Carr had a bucket there, but now you're starting to hear, you know, rumors swirl about Penn State wanting him and Cal Berkeley and et cetera. And how do you think that this job situation has been handled at this point, him still being, you know, interim head coach? How do you feel that this has all gone about, and how do you think it's gone about the right way?
Yeah, I mean, look, if I'm Chris Del Conte, look, Rodney Terry's going to get the job. He just is. I think that if you're Del Conte, the one thing you want to make sure that you cognizantly don't do is change the dynamics of what has got this team playing well right now. And if they're playing for Terry because they think that, you know, he may or may not get the job, don't tell them what I just said. Like, you know, you want them to continue to play with the edge that they've had. I think the last thing you'd want to do, if you're going to give him the job, you'll give him the job when this thing is all over with. And after this team is done going through the grind. I don't think that there's really I think Tommy Lloyd might have been the guy that they wanted to hire. And I think the problem that they had was when Arizona goes out in the first round, you've suddenly put yourself into a position where the guy that's on the bench right now is doing better than the guy that just went out in the first round. So I think that probably fell apart for them. These jobs are always about timing. And as it stands right now, the timing for someone else really isn't that good. I mean, there's not an obvious Chris Beard hire. You know, it's hard to remember now, but the Shaka Smart hire was a massive hire. He had been turning down jobs left and right, and when Texas went to get him, it was a big deal. I don't think that guy currently exists. Now, look, you guys have heard me say this before. I don't think that I look at Rodney Terry as the optimal hire. You know, they did a thing, some stupid, non-important basketball website that ranked the top 16 coaches in the tournament that remaining. And, you know, Texas's guy was number 15. And a lot of people felt like that was a bit of an insult. And it's like, well, look, you're going to have to understand what Rodney Terry is. He's a guy with a very flawed track record as a head coach who's on an absolute heater right now. Is he the most optimal, successful hire that Texas could make? No. Is he the popular hire right now? Do the players want it to happen? Is there a feel-good piece of this? Is he doing a great job? Yes, and Zay, you bring up a really interesting point. I wrote about this on Monday over at orangebloods.com. 4:42 left in that game, and it looked like it was getting away from Texas. And he calls a timeout, and there were a couple of things that needed to happen. He needed to calm them down because they were starting to look like they were feeling the pressure. He needed to come up with an offensive play coming out of the huddle that was a guaranteed 2 points. And then he needed to make sure that the first part about calming them down and reminding them of who they are and what they've done and who they've beaten, he needed to be able to do all of that in 2 minutes. And they come out of the timeout, and they not only get an easy bucket, they get the easy bucket of all easy buckets. They get the ball in the hands of the right guy, Dylan DeSue, who's suddenly their best player, and he basically drops the ball inside the rim, like from a foot. And so it was the perfect call. Texas goes on a 10-0 run from that moment. And I would make the case, as someone who's watched 30-something years of Texas basketball, that might have been the single best timeout and response coming out of a timeout that I've seen a Texas basketball team make. He could not have done a better job. The team could not have responded to what it is that he told them. And it's the reason why we're having the type of conversation that we're having right now. And had they lost that game, I don't think he gets the job. I don't know who they hire, but I think the threshold was got to get to the Sweet 16 or this really wasn't a really good season. I can't say enough about what I thought he did in the most pressurized moment of his coaching career. He's never been in that spot in an NCAA tournament game as a head coach with everything on the line. And they came out of that timeout perfectly regrouped. And the 10-0 response and winning that game was absolute proof of it.
Yeah, and I would also argue Texas fans would tell you probably what happens in that timeout if you go with the previous guy or the previous guy. I think I know what happens in both situations.
Yeah, you saw the run last night, FAU. Barnes didn't have nothing for the volunteers, Catch.
I know what happens in both those situations, Catch, and it does not end well for people in Burn Orange. Is that fair?
Well, I would say that one of the things that was certainly frustrating under Shaka, definitely frustrating a little bit under Chris Beard, was this has not been a program that for the last decade or so, and also under Rick, like,
right.
Come out of a timeout with an offensive play that looks like you actually talked about something. Sometimes it looks like, Shaka did some weird-ass breathing exercises the other day in a timeout. And look, I like Shaka Smart, but I didn't think that was the time to do that. The thing that they needed to do more than anything, and look, Rodney Terry will tell you, he's the defensive guy. Under Beard, he's the guy that was in charge of their defense. Whoever in the hell came up with what they ran in that set coming out of the timeout did one of the best jobs, again, of coming out of a timeout with a play. They needed to stop the bleeding. The moment DeSue scores, it's like the light goes off in their heads. Oh, yeah, we're good. And then they put it to Penn State. And historically speaking, it was a big-time moment. This isn't a program that's had so much success in that round of the tournament or this deep of the tournament that there's a litany of examples that you can point to where you're like, oh, yeah, remember when Barnes was playing Michigan State back in 2000? I don't actually specifically remember that. It could exist, but the recent memories of this program are that they don't always come out of the timeout with a sure thing 2-point play called, and you couldn't have had a more sure thing than getting the ball to Dylan DeSue and letting him basically just drop the ball in the rim.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And by the way, to be clear, I was referencing Barnes and Shaka. I somehow, not that I'd forgotten Chris Beard, but I was considering Barnes and Shaka there when I was talking about the offensive play calling. Although at times the Chris Beard offensive play calling could get a little strange too. Talking with Jeff Ketchum. Yeah,
absolutely.
No, it could all happen. There's no doubt. Ketch, before we let you go, let's get your sense for kind of a couple in terms of Texas trying to get to the Final Four. Let's say they do get by Xavier. Do you think it's Houston or do you think it's Miami that they're trying to get by?
I think they're going to play Houston, and I think it's going to go down as the most – I think you guys will show up on Monday, and your whole show will be mapped out for you. You will be responding and talking about what I think may be the most famous game in Texas basketball history. If you go back and think about when Texas last made the Final Four, and they did play Michigan State in San Antonio, that game sucked. I mean, they won, so that's all that matters. But there wasn't anything great about the aesthetics of the game. Michigan State played poorly. Texas didn't play its A game, so they really slogged their way. If such a thing could be true, and happy birthday, TJ Ford.
Yep.
If you're listening to this right now, do not take offense. But, like, nobody's going back and watching that. There's a million games you could go back and watch when TJ Ford and the group closed down senior night at Norman and, made Hollis Price cry after the game. Like, that's a moment. But that Michigan State game wasn't something that a lot of us have gone back and rewatched over the years. I have a feeling that this game against Houston is going to be an absolute all-timer. You've got two teams who, quite frankly, it's a coin flip type of a game. I'm leaning towards Texas because, again, I trust these guys, but I think in terms of the type of game that we're going to get on Sunday, and I don't mean to jinx it, right? I don't. If something happens bad tonight and that game doesn't get played, don't blame it on me. I am not a sorcerer. But when I look ahead to that matchup, I think it's going to be an all-time game. I think it's the kind of thing if and when Texas wins, they'll be talking about that game and telling their grandkids about it.
Yeah, it could be a wild show in Kansas City on Sunday if that's where it ends up. That is Jeff Ketchum, orangebloods.com, at GKKetch on Twitter. Ketch, we got a lot of time to talk football with you. We'll let basketball stand on its own, and we do appreciate you jumping on, feeling a little bit under the weather. So have a good weekend. We will talk to you next week, hopefully, and hopefully we are talking about a Final Four team possibly. Have a great weekend, man.
You too, guys. I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Catch.
Good stuff. And again, there is the big Junior Day coming up this weekend, and we are only 22 days away from the Texas spring game in terms of football, but obviously a lot of big basketball focus right now. Late tonight, Texas and Xavier. There you hear it. Catch liking the Longhorns matchup against Xavier, thinking they can win that, and he thinks they will face Houston for a trip to Houston.
Sounds great. One game at a time, though.
It's one. You're right.
One game at a time.
It's one game at a time because we did spend time early in this tournament talking about something that sounded cool to a lot of people, including the person sitting in my chair, and then it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Because one team didn't handle their business. So this is Houston got to handle their business tonight. Texas got to handle their business tonight. And then you could end up with a wild Lone Star showdown for a trip to come back to. It just would be wild. But you got to get there first. Xavier and Miami have certainly earned the respect for tonight.
Yeah.
They're both playing their ass off right now. And I think everybody that roots for Texas, I know you're in this camp, Zay, but I think every Longhorn fan listening and hopefully every Cougar fan that would be out there, they know they can be beaten tonight. It's not like you're playing a pushover.
No, not at all.
Not. Heck, even the people that are rooting for Creighton tonight better be paying attention. I know that's a 15 seed, but Princeton, you might want to pay attention.
In the Xavier-Texas game, looking at all these mock drafts, only one player in that game is projected to get drafted, and that he ain't on Texas' side.
Is that right?
Yeah,
Okay.
Kobe Jones.
All right.
So take that what you want.
Yeah.
I think Texas is slightly better, but yeah, this is a team in Xavier. They've beaten all the good teams in the Big East.
Just from a competitive standpoint, I hope we get what we got last night in two of those games. Obviously, the UConn game ends up being out of whack, and FAU, that was a pretty good game. I mean, that stayed fairly close, but man, the K-State and Gonzaga games were incredible last night. High-quality basketball. Your eyeballs told you they were good. Then you went and look at the stat sheet and realized, oh, holy hell, these guys were shooting out the lights. So it was good. Go look at what Michigan State shot and lost. Go look at those numbers. Tom Izzo's got to be freaking out today.
Yeah, you shoot 52% from three, 49% from the field, 81% from the free throw line with 22 attempts from the free throw line, and you lose.
And they lose. They go home? My God. And then you find out, the other guy, the point guard on the other side had 19 assists. Okay, that'll start to explain it. All right, more basketball coming up. Jeff Ketchum mentioned that big birthday we got to hit today. It is TJ Ford's birthday. There are a couple others we'll mention as well, plus some food that gets its own day to get you hungry and thirsty before the weekend. Why Today Matters, coming up on The Horn. This is Chad. Let's talk a little underdog fantasy, easiest place to play fantasy sports. And if you're looking for something to do during the games tonight, if you're a Longhorn fan that's just got a little too many nerves going on, I understand. I got you. All you have to do is get over to Underdog and get you a pick'em game going. We talked about the Texas game earlier. If you want to go just Texas Xavier, you can on a pick'em game, but if your bracket's already messed up, this is a great way to get in on the action. You're picking whether players have a higher or lower stat total in the upcoming tournament matchups. Pick between 2 and 5 players to build a pick'em entry. Get all your picks right. You can win up to 20 times your money in a single game. Let's go to that Houston game tonight. How about the Maynard product, Jamal Shed? 1.5 3-pointers made, higher or lower? Or maybe you like 13 points, higher or lower? Which side are you going to go there? You know me, I'm always the higher kind of guy. I generally end up there. But do whatever you want. Get the pick'em games put together. Maybe you go with some Longhorns and some Cougars. Sign up today with the promo code HORN and get your first deposit doubled up to $100. Visit UnderdogFantasy.com or find them in the App Store. And don't forget to register with my promo code HORN to get your first deposit doubled up to $100. Must be 18 or over and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-522-4700 or visit www.ncpgambling.org. It's the fastest growing fantasy app in the industry. It is Underdog Fantasy.
Chad and Zay.
Rolling through a Friday. I think I've got this one. Is it DMX?
Yo, man, I hope we're bumping this before the game tonight.
It's be a
Talk about
good one.
getting hyped up.
This would be a good one. What's it called?
What's my name?
Yeah.
Arr, arr.
That's good.
We
All
need
right.
dogs tonight, baby. We don't need them cats.
You know how I try to be as OCD as I can about the music thing. He was who I was thinking of even before they said DMX.
Okay,
I want
good.
you to know. I heard that little
Good.
bark. I heard the bark and the growl, and I thought, wait, sounds like a little DMX. And then he went, DMX. Like, yeah, there you go. All right. DMX. This would be a good thing to get the guys fired up tonight for the Sweet 16. DMX, Motley Crue, Shaka Khan, Judas Priest, Mountain. I guess all those bands may have something that would pump you up. P. Diddy and Mace with a great beat earlier this hour, but this would be a good way to go. I wonder if enough baseball players have gone with DMX. Is this too extreme for a baseball? Would it get you too fired up? Because you still have to maintain on a baseball at bat. You need a good build for that, but maybe you don't want something that intense?
Yeah, I think it depends on the person, but normally if I played baseball, I probably wouldn't go with DMX.
Hey, man, why are you changing your at-bat song? Well, I went with DMX, and I took 9 pitches and swung at all of them, and it was 3 strikeouts, so I decided to calm down. I went out there.
Juiced up at the plate.
I swung at one of those like in Major League, just a bit outside. Yeah, I swung at that pitch. I just couldn't stop.
Yo, if DMX was playing, my batting stance would be like a coked out Gary Sheffield. I'd be tweaking it and that stuff, just moving it. What's wrong with this guy? Oh, he was jamming DMX before the game.
Little too excited.
Yeah.
Little too excited. All right, shout out to DMX today. We also have a big birthday shout out on the Longhorn front, plus my favorite in a particular category. To me, he is the GOAT of his category, has a birthday today. We'll hit some other stuff, too. Let's get into it. Why Today Matters on the 24th.
Why Today Matters, brought to you by Sinus and Snoring Specialists. Get sinus and snoring relief with Dr. Daniel Slaughter at Sinus and Snoring Specialists, 512-601-0303 or sinussnoringent.com.
All right, Longhorn fans, as long as you, however long you've been watching Texas basketball, you probably have your favorite memory. Maybe it was the dread version. Maybe it was the other version, the other hair.
Tight fade.
Little
Ball
tight,
fade,
the tighter,
ball fade,
the tighter,
yeah.
yeah. But everybody's going to have their favorite TJ Ford moment. Happy birthday to the great TJ Ford today. Some would say he's the greatest Texas basketball player of all time. Maybe it's Durant. Who knows? But he's in the discussion. Happy birthday, TJ Ford. Zay, when I say his name, is there a play that pops into your head? Is there a game? Do you just see it as a totality? What do you think of when I say TJ Ford?
The play that pops into my head is this tip dunk at the Farrell Center in Waco.
Oh, that's a lot. That's a lot of people go to that one.
That one-handed tip dunk. And if y'all need to know what I'm talking about, then go follow Chris Bennett on Twitter. He just posted a nice little compilation clip that Longhorn
very
Network
nice.
posted, and they show that highlight twice. And it's like a 1-minute clip, and they show that highlight twice.
Yeah, it's
I'll
silly.
never forget that.
Yep.
And I'll never forget when I first met TJ Ford. I was 10 years old, 2001, state championship, when the state championship was still here at the Irwin Center and not at the Alamo Dome before South by Southwest got in the way. And it was just too much to have the state championship down here at the Irwin Center. So now, I mean, back then they did, but now it is. And my pops was cool with the Willow Ridge coach, and they needed a place to practice for state, and they did at Bowie. And my pops, he ain't going to introduce me to no high school kid. If it ain't a Bowie kid, he ain't going to introduce me.
Mm-hmm.
My pops and my AAU coach, John Lindsay, whose son is the current Bowie coach, Trey Lindsay, that's a big reason why we're so tight, he got us together and he said, hey, come meet this kid. And, you know, we're ignorant. We 10 years old. If you ain't in the league, I ain't trying to meet you. And my pops, Coach John, they were like, yo, this guy's going to Texas. Braided up, smile,
Yeah.
had jeans on, shook our hand. Again, had jeans on, went up there with ease, dunked the ball at like 5'9", 10.
He was wearing jeans?
He's wearing jeans. Just went and dunked the ball real easy just to see, like, test the
fantastic.
rims out. And I'm like, oh my God, this dude's wearing jeans. We're almost the same height. I'm 10.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, y'all introducing me. This dude must be serious. So later that night, we saw them play. Willow Ridge, not one of the greatest Texas high school basketball team of all time. Kenny Taylor, Daniel Ewan, they had a squad. People ask me, Zay, who's your favorite Duke player all the time? I tell them Daniel Ewan. Why? Because of TJ Ford.
Mm.
All the Duke players, I could care less. Daniel Ewan was my guy because I saw him in high school at Willow Ridge High. TJ Ford was the man. Incredible, the performances they put on. I think they only lost one game in 2 years, back-to-back state championships, 2000 and 01.
That had to be a fun team to defend.
Oh.
Did the zigzag drill work against them? Could I get down in a stance and zigzag and make it work?
What? TJ Ford at 5'10" used to drop triple doubles, Chad.
It's
triple doubles.
Unbelievable. I can't imagine.
And it would be like steals. It would be steals, assist, points. It would be steals, assist, points.
He didn't put double-digit steals on people in high school. That's not happening.
Yeah,
Come on.
Just like it was nothing. Like
That's amazing.
And then he went on McDonald's All-American game, and he showed the world. The world didn't know anything about TJ. Cameron Indoor Stadium. He was doing playground moves like the slip and slide. That was a video game we used to play, NBA Street. Y'all know what I'm talking about.
Slip and slide.
They called it the slip and slide. TJ brought it out and then dropped the dime, and it fit. He wasn't just doing it. It worked as a move. And you're like, yo, this guy is special.
Yeah.
This guy's different.
Yeah.
And his heart was as big as his shorts. He was amazing. And we miss him. Like, we miss that type of player down here. That's why this season's been so exciting. Seeing this team. It's been 20 years since a team's been to the Final Four.
Yeah, you don't just get one of those players every year. It doesn't happen.
Yeah.
They don't just grow on trees. They don't just walk in your door every day.
And he didn't have to come to Texas. All the blue bloods that were recruiting him, like Coach K was coming down to Houston, Texas to see Daniel Ewan. I'm sure he saw TJ Ford. Daniel Ewan say it all the time in the documentary for TJ. I couldn't believe he was going to Texas. Like, what?
Right.
You realize how cold
At
you
that
are
time,
at
right.
that time.
Yep.
And it changed what people thought of Texas basketball. Yeah, running horns, Tom Penders. I love Chris Clack, one of my favorite Longhorns. Chico, those are my dudes, especially them being Austin Knights. But TJ Ford changed how America thought of Texas basketball.
Has Durant ever said if he would have gone to Texas without TJ? Like, I've never heard of that. Has anybody ever asked him that question? Do you think you would have still gone to Texas? Or was TJ's influence a part? Not influence, but you know what I mean?
I want to say the big thing with KD was his mom's.
Okay.
Because KD wanted to go to Carolina.
Okay. So may have been other factors there.
I think Barnes really loved Coach Terry. His mom really loved Coach Barnes and Coach Terry and the staff.
Right.
And was like, I really trust, especially how close KD and his mom are, I really trust that coaching staff a little bit more than Roy Williams and those guys.
Yeah, that's fair. Happy birthday to TJ Ford. Couple other quick ones. My favorite big man professional wrestler of all time is The Undertaker. It's his birthday today. Happy birthday to the Big U as we head up towards WrestleMania. He, I believe, is still living in the area.
Yeah, he was at a Texas softball game.
Is that right?
Recently.
Very cool. Very cool. Love the Big U. You can have your favorite big man. I know there's a lot of great ones. That's my favorite big man in the history of pro wrestling. Also, one of my favorite birthday doubles happens today. Peyton Manning and the idiot kicker share a birthday. I just love that fact. Peyton Manning and Mike Vanderjagt have the same birthday. So only I think that's interesting. But there you have it. Also, go have yourself a cocktail this weekend. Today's National Cocktail Day. Today is National Chocolate Covered Raisins Day. So raisins or whatever.
Raisinets.
Whatever you like covered in chocolate. I don't mind it. I'd rather do, chocolate-covered pecans or something else, but some people love those raisins. And Zay, National Cheesecake Day today.
Ooh.
Oh, mercy.
Shout out to Vince Young.
That'll get you in trouble. Vince Young says good cheesecake?
No, I'm just saying, he had this Cheesecake Factory.
Oh, I thought you were giving like Vince Young Steakhouse some love or something.
I'm sure they do. I've never had their cheesecake.
Because
Their
they had
steak's
great
good.
cheesecake. All right, there you go. That is why Today Matters. We do it every day at about 2:30. Up next, Stems and Seeds. Before we get out of here, we've had some football notes come down. Plus, did you catch what happened at Alabama when one coach might have been talking about the other? We'll get you that one real quick, too, on the horn. This is Chad talking a little Apple leasing. I love my car from Apple Leasing, and I really enjoyed the drive. Really enjoyed the fact that, doing the basic maintenance on it. I got to get the oil changed, in fact, this weekend, and gotten, new tires put on it and stuff like that. You're keeping that part done, but you are driving the part of the car. You're paying for the part of the car that you are driving, I should say. That's what they always say at Apple Leasing. It is so true. I really enjoyed the process. And all you have to do is start with that phone call, 346-9977. You can also do appleleasing.com, but talk to one of their great folks. I talked to Beth, a couple conversations got it started. They can go out to those dealerships, their connections, and get you all the same discounts, all the same incentives that the dealers do, but you save so much time. You're saving all that time walking around the dealership. You're saving the time signing all those documents because you're going to sign the documents electronically. It is the easiest and safest way to get a new car. Any make, any model, any car, any truck. So you're going to have all those different choices because obviously you're not walking onto one dealership's lot and be able to ask them about a different type of car, a different make and model that they may not even have. With Apple Leasing, you get all those different options. They'll give you the options on new. They'll give you the options on pre-owned, so you know exactly what you're looking at. 346-9977, 346-9977. Be sure to tell them you heard about it here on The Horn, or just check out appleleasing.com.
Chad and Zay.
All righty, getting ready to close it out on a Friday. Really a monumental song, a really important song in the history of music. There were other moments where I would have argued to people that rap was not near as dangerous as they thought, but then Sir Mix-a-Lot officially stamped it for him. Because this, to me, is the moment that rap stopped being dangerous to a lot of people. Right here. Right here.
Yeah,
this,
1992.
For the record, I think this is god-awful.
Oh, it's terrible.
God-awful. I was a fan of My Posse's on Broadway, some other Sir Mix-a-Lot stuff. I thought this was cheap, useless, worthless. I never hear it and get excited. I don't memorize lyrics. All I know Anaconda and blah, blah. I think it's below him, way below him. But none of that matters because this is one of the most popular rap songs that has ever existed, and it really brought a ton of people to the rap world. Like, it is what it is.
Yeah, I've never played this song on these airways for obvious reasons. I don't like it either, but somebody does.
Oh, yeah.
And
my wife loses her mind when this song comes on. Loses her mind. Loses her mind. When my daughter
white women love this song.
Oh, white women
White women love this song.
White women love it. You know when he says even white boys got to shout? He should have said even white girls love this song. Every one of them does. At one point, I can't remember how young my daughter was, but single-digit age. And we're driving, and this song comes on, and from the back seat, I hear as they're doing the lead-in, the Becky, look at her butt. And then I hear my daughter mouthing the words with them. Looks like some rapper's girlfriend, whatever. And I was like, you know the words to this song? And my wife is all proud. She's glowing like she taught her. So shout out to all you shout out to all you white girls. We know you love it, and all the rest of you that love Sir Mix-a-Lot's Baby Got Back. Sir Mix-a-Lot, DMX, Motley Crue, Shaka Khan, Judas Priest, Mountain. They've all been on the show today. The P. Diddy and Mace beat to start the hour. Next week, we will get back to the album swap discussion. Zay will be listening to Back in Black by AC/DC. I will be listening to Iron Man from Ghostface Killah. And then we will continue that every Thursday, doing some album swap, stuff that's a little out of our comfort zone. We're also going to hit some albums that both of us haven't heard, and we'll get you our reviews of that. So we've had a lot of fun with those musical discussions. We always have a lot of fun talking that, but also getting you ready for all the sports. And today, you know what it's been about. Texas in the Sweet 16, a lot of energy around that game. Let's go Stems and Seeds, and we're going to check in with Zay and see where the nerves are right now.
No stress, no seeds, no stems, no sticks.
Brought to you by AV Consultations, 255-8678, or go to avconsultations.com. Zay, earlier you said you were at a flat-out 10 on the nerve scale. Where are we right now?
I said I was at 8.5.
You were 8.5?
Yeah, I was 8.5.
Okay.
We're still there.
8.5.
8.5.
Okay. Are you watching this game with a group of people, or are you going to be like holed up in a room by yourself chewing fingernails? What are you doing?
By myself.
Not even your wife?
Oh, she'll be there. She'll be around. But sometimes she just leaves and says, I'm going to the other room. I can't be with you right now.
Are you a yeller and a screamer at the television?
Yes.
Do you throw things?
No, I don't throw anything.
You don't break your own stuff?
No, I'm too cheap for that.
Okay, good. That's helpful. Any good luck charms you have to have? You got to wear something? What do you do?
Nah.
Not a mojo guy?
Nah.
Okay.
I'm not the one playing.
Does your dad bug you during games?
He doesn't watch anything.
Really?
He just starts driving around. So be careful tonight, Pops. It's going to be real late. Be careful. He can't even take it. My mom has to watch it for him, and sometimes she'll get in that mode where she can't watch it either.
Now, wait a minute. Is the legendary Coach Collier a Texas fan?
No, he's, Coach Terry fan.
Oh.
That's family.
This is a family thing.
It's a family thing.
So you're saying he's not going to watch, he's going to drive around?
Yeah.
Because
he will not listen to Craig Way.
He won't. I was going to say, not going to listen to Craig?
No.
Oh, CC.
No disrespect for
if
Craig.
You're out there, you can listen to Craig a little bit.
He can't do it.
How does he find out what's going on?
He doesn't.
He just waits till he gets back?
He just waits.
He walks in to see his wife's face to tell him? That's old school right there.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. All right, so Texas and Xavier, of course, coming up tonight. Couple of quick football notes. We talked about earlier The Lamar Jackson story, NFL saying you got to talk to him directly. Eagles, Lane Johnson gets an extension. Also, a slightly funny story where Nate Oates was asked about a Nick Saban comment. Nick Saban was asked about suspending his player for going 141 miles an hour, and he said there's no such thing as I was in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Ooh, shots fired.
And since Nate said that, everybody thought he was making the reference. So they went back to Nick later, and he's like, hey, I don't listen to the basketball coach's press conference. Are you crazy? As long as I've been doing this? No, I've never listened to one. I was talking about my guys and my team. Do you believe Nick Saban, Zay? Or do you think he did that on purpose?
I don't think he did it on purpose, but do I believe he hasn't listened to a basketball presser? I don't believe that.
Okay, but was it a total coincidence that he